darkness, mystery, and stone. These three elements have haunted the human imagination for as long as our species has been capable of asking questions. From the windswept plains of Turkey to the desert sands of Egypt, from the misty hills of England to the remote islands of the Pacific, enormous monuments stand in silence, carved and placed with such skill that they continue to baffle modern engineers. They are more than relics of stone. They are riddles left behind by cultures we only half understand. And perhaps, hidden within their alignments, their measurements, and their timeless endurance, lies a message, a universal code that ancient builders may have embedded into their work, not for their own sake, but for future generations. The question is simple yet unsettling. Did they intend for us to find it? Imagine standing before the Great Pyramid of Giza at dawn. The sun breaks over the horizon, its light striking the monument with mathematical precision. The base of this colossal structure is aligned almost perfectly to true north, with an accuracy so uncanny that even our best compasses would struggle to rival it. Why would a civilization, supposedly limited in tools and technology, exert such effort for precision that seems unnecessary for a tomb? Why would similar obsessions with cosmic alignments appear in other corners of the world, among cultures that supposedly never interacted with each other? What if these patterns are not accidents of culture, but deliberate expressions of something larger, a language carved into the earth itself? The first step in uncovering this mystery is recognizing the persistence of design. Megaliths were not randomly placed piles of stone, they were constructed with purpose. At Stonehenge, enormous standing stones were dragged across miles of unforgiving terrain, then carefully positioned to frame the solstices. On Easter Island, hundreds of massive statues gaze outward, as if guarding something invisible. In the jungles of South America, blocks weighing hundreds of tons were shaped with razor precision and slotted together so tightly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. To modern eyes, these achievements seem improbable. But to those who carved and arranged them, they may have represented something beyond physical durability. They may have been carriers of knowledge, cosmic timekeepers, or even messages to the future. There is a tension between what mainstream archaeology tells us and what these stones seem to whisper. The official narrative often insists that these monuments were ritual spaces, tombs, or cultural expressions of primitive people struggling to understand their world. Yet, when confronted with recurring patterns, celestial alignments, sacred numbers, geometric symmetries, skepticism begins to falter. How could societies separated by oceans and millennia independently arrive at the same obsessive use of the number 72, the same fascination with Orion's belt, the same integration of solstices and equinoxes into their sacred architecture? At what point do coincidences become too numerous to ignore? This is where the Megalith Code enters the conversation. The idea suggests that megalithic structures are not isolated curiosities, but parts of a grand, interconnected system of knowledge encoded into stone. A code not written in words, but in geometry, astronomy, and myth. A code designed to withstand time itself, to persist beyond the fall of empires, the erasure of libraries, and the fragility of oral traditions. It is a hypothesis that challenges the very foundation of what we think we know about history, because it implies intent, a guiding intelligence operating across continents. Whether that intelligence was human, divine, or something else entirely, remains the heart of the mystery. If such a code exists, what would it mean for us today? It would suggest that ancient civilizations were not primitive, but custodians of advanced knowledge. It would mean that history as we know it is incomplete, perhaps deliberately so. It would force us to rethink progress, science, and the way information is transmitted through generations. And it would imply that the ancients may have foreseen events far beyond their lifetimes, encoding warnings, instructions, or truths in stone, waiting for us to rediscover them at the moment when we are ready to listen. As the camera of imagination pans across the globe, the similarities grow harder to dismiss. A stone circle in Britain mirrors astronomical cycles. A pyramid in Mexico echoes the proportions of one in Egypt. A temple in Cambodia reflects the stars above in its layout. These are not isolated accidents. They are fingerprints of a design language that transcends culture. And just as a computer code is meaningless until interpreted by someone who understands it, so too the Megalith Code may be awaiting our recognition, requiring us to step beyond dogma and look with fresh eyes. The stakes are not merely academic. If ancient builders left behind a code, then it was meant to be read. It could contain truths about cosmic cycles, natural disasters, or even the destiny of humanity itself. It could be a warning about catastrophes past and future, or a blueprint for achieving harmony with the earth. Every block of stone, every carefully measured angle, Every alignment with the heavens could be part of a larger puzzle. The silence of these monuments is deceptive. They are speaking, but in a language we have barely begun to translate. As we embark on this journey, one thing becomes clear. The mystery of the Megalith Code is not just about the past. It is about the present, and perhaps even the future. The ancients may have built their message into stone precisely because they knew civilizations rise and fall, but stone endures. They may have known that knowledge kept in books or memory would vanish, but a monument aligned with the stars would always speak, as long as the stars themselves remained. The only question that remains is whether we, standing here millennia later, will finally learn to listen. Beneath the soil of time, where civilizations have risen and fallen, lie the first whispers of a mystery that continues to echo into the present. The earliest megalithic structures, scattered across the globe, present a paradox so profound it unsettles our entire understanding of human history. They appear suddenly, as if emerging fully formed from the imagination of an unseen architect, displaying technical mastery that seems far beyond the capabilities of the societies credited with building them. To stand before one of these colossal works is to feel both awe and disquiet, for the question that arises is unavoidable. How, and why, did primitive people create monuments requiring knowledge of mathematics, engineering, and astronomy that rival our modern sciences? These are not random piles of stone. They are deliberate, purposeful, and hauntingly precise. Take, for instance, the megalithic sites scattered across Europe. Long before the pyramids of Giza or the temples of Mesopotamia, Neolithic communities were hauling massive stones across miles of rugged terrain to erect circles, dolmens, and passage tombs. Newgrange in Ireland, for example, is aligned so perfectly with the rising sun of the winter solstice that, for a few moments each year, its inner chamber is illuminated in golden light. This feat is not just architectural but astronomical, demanding both observational accuracy and an understanding of seasonal cycles that mainstream narratives suggest these people should not have possessed. Why would subsistence farmers, still struggling to master the basics of survival, dedicate such monumental energy to encoding solar events into stone? Was it simply ritual, an act of reverence, or was it part of a larger system, a code written to preserve something more enduring than daily life? The paradox deepens as we move beyond Europe. In the highlands of Peru, walls of gargantuan stone blocks tower over visitors. At Sacsayhuaman, each stone is carved and fitted with such perfection that even modern engineers puzzle over how it was accomplished. These blocks are not merely large, some weigh over 100 tons, yet they were shaped with such precision that they interlock like puzzle pieces without mortar, resisting earthquakes for centuries. The precision is so uncanny that many suspect a lost technology must have been at play, something beyond the simple hammer and chisel methods assumed by archaeology. Were these stones intended to endure for practical reasons, or were they built to last because they contained a message intended for future generations? Patterns begin to emerge when these monuments are compared across continents. Their construction is almost always tied to the heavens. Ancient builders were not only aware of solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles, they built entire complexes to reflect these cosmic events. The Karnak stones of France stretch for miles in mysterious rows, possibly mapping out constellations. The Nabta Playa stone circle in the Egyptian desert, predating Stonehenge, marks solstices with breathtaking accuracy. These alignments suggest more than ritual. They imply knowledge systems focused on preserving cosmic cycles. When viewed together, they hint at a shared obsession across disparate cultures, encoding time itself into stone. Why would early societies pour such immense effort into tracking the stars and anchoring their monuments to celestial patterns? Perhaps they understood something we have forgotten. The Earth moves not only through daily cycles of day and night, but through long cosmic rhythms, including precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis over 26,000 years. Such knowledge would have been vital if ancient people wished to pass on warnings about repeating catastrophes, floods, or climate shifts tied to these cosmic rhythms. If the builders of megaliths knew that civilizations rise and fall in cycles, then the stones themselves may be the medium through which they attempted to communicate this awareness across the ages. The mainstream explanation often reduces these structures to primitive temples or burial grounds. Yet even within those narratives, unsettling details resist dismissal. Why, for example, do the dimensions of certain monuments reflect mathematical constants, such as pi or the golden ratio, values supposedly unknown to prehistoric people? Why do sacred numbers, 72, 360, 432, reappear again and again, not only in architecture but in mythology and religious texts? If these numbers appear in both the stones of Europe and the temples of Asia, in the pyramids of Egypt and the legends of the Maya? Is it coincidence, or is it evidence of a deliberate code linking them all? The persistence of design across cultures suggests that the first megalithic monuments were not isolated experiments but part of a shared vision, perhaps guided by a forgotten source of knowledge. Imagine early builders standing under a sky ablaze with stars, not merely admiring their beauty but seeing in them a framework, a universal pattern to be mirrored on Earth. By aligning stones with the heavens, they may have sought to lock human existence into cosmic cycles, to bind earthbound societies to the eternal rhythms above. In doing so, they may have left behind markers, coordinates, clues, and codes that still wait for us to interpret. As the stones whisper their silent testimony, one is forced to confront a chilling possibility. Perhaps these builders were not simply recording what they knew but anticipating what we would one day forget. They may have understood that civilizations are fragile, that knowledge is easily lost, and that only by carving into the bones of the earth itself could they ensure the endurance of their message. The first megaliths, then, are not just monuments. They are the prologue of a larger story, a preface carved in stone that prepares us to unlock the deeper mysteries of the Megalith Code. Buried beneath the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey lies a place that challenges everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. Long before the pyramids, long before Stonehenge, long before writing itself, a group of ancient builders raised a vast complex of stone circles and towering pillars that defy explanation. This place is Gobekli Tepe, often called the world's first temple, yet it is something far stranger and more enigmatic than a simple place of worship. Dating back to around 9600 BCE, it is over twice as old as any comparable monument, and it emerges fully formed, as though an entire architectural tradition simply appeared out of thin air. How could hunter-gatherers, supposedly living in small, mobile bands, have created something so vast and so precise? And perhaps more importantly, what message did they intend to leave behind? The sheer scale of Gobekli Tepe is staggering. Buried for thousands of years and only rediscovered in the late 20th century, the site consists of massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in circular enclosures. The pillars are carved with intricate images, animals, birds, abstract symbols, that seem to form a language of their own. Unlike the rough stone circles of later cultures, these pillars are shaped, smoothed, and positioned with careful attention to detail. At the center of each enclosure, two larger monoliths dominate the space, like guardians of a secret too great to be spoken aloud. Archaeologists struggle to explain how such a site could exist at such an early stage of human development. If Gobekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers, then it implies they had access to skills, organization, and astronomical knowledge far beyond what history currently credits them with. The carvings at Gobekli Tepe may hold the key to its purpose. Among the depictions of foxes, vultures, snakes, and wild boars are strange arrangements of symbols that many researchers interpret as constellations. One pillar in particular has drawn intense interest, the so-called vulture stone. Its carvings appear to represent a cosmic event, perhaps a comet strike or cataclysm, encoded in symbolic form. Some believe it marks the memory of a disaster at the end of the last ice age, a catastrophe that reshaped the Earth's climate and gave rise to flood myths across cultures. If this interpretation is correct, then Gobekli Tepe may have been more than a temple. It may have been a record, a message carved in stone to preserve the memory of a world-changing event. Astronomical alignments strengthen this possibility. Recent studies suggest that the enclosures are not randomly placed but deliberately oriented to the sky. The twin central pillars may represent a connection between Earth and the heavens, a gateway of sorts. Some researchers propose that Gobekli Tepe's builders were tracking the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that takes nearly 26,000 years to complete. If true, this would make Gobekli Tepe one of the earliest and most sophisticated astronomical observatories in human history, its stones acting as a cosmic clock far older than any civilization we currently recognize. But Gobekli Tepe holds another layer of mystery. It was deliberately buried. Sometime around 8000 BCE, the builders themselves filled in the enclosures with tons of earth and rubble, entombing their work beneath the soil. Why would a people who labored for generations to build such a place suddenly decide to conceal it? Was it an act of reverence, a ritual closure of sacred space? Or was it something else, a conscious decision to hide knowledge, to protect a code that was meant to be rediscovered only in the distant future? The deliberate burial suggests intent, as if the builders knew the site's importance would extend far beyond their own time. Mainstream archaeology hesitates to embrace these radical possibilities, often framing Gobekli Tepe as a ritual center for emerging societies. Yet even within that cautious interpretation, Its existence rewrites history. It demonstrates that monumental architecture, symbolic art, and organized religion predated agriculture and settled life. In other words, it was not farming that gave birth to civilization, but shared cosmology and the desire to build in stone. The very foundation of human history may be reversed. First came the temple, then the city. And if the temple came first, it suggests an awareness of universal truths that demanded preservation through architecture. That idea edges closer to the concept of a megalith code. For those who see Gobekli Tepe as part of a larger puzzle, the implications are staggering. The symbols carved into its pillars may not be random decorations but fragments of an ancient language. The alignments may not be mere ritual but encoded astronomical markers. The very act of burial may have been a message, telling us that what is hidden will one day be revealed. Gobekli Tepe is not just an outlier, it is a cornerstone, the first great clue in a global system of knowledge that stretches across continents and millennia. Its stones, standing silent in the Anatolian earth, seem to whisper, "Look closer, the truth is here." As we reflect on Gobekli Tepe, we must ask ourselves whether we are truly the first advanced civilization on this planet. Could it be that knowledge once flourished in deep antiquity, preserved in stone when all else was destined to be lost? Was Gobekli Tepe a temple, a calendar, a warning, or all three at once? And most importantly, was it the first chapter in the Megalith Code, a message left for us to decode as we stand once more on the threshold of cosmic change? Beneath the blazing Egyptian sun, rising from the golden sands of the Giza Plateau, stand the most iconic monuments of antiquity, the pyramids. They dominate the desert horizon with a majesty that seems to defy time itself, massive geometric forms that have stirred wonder, awe, and controversy for centuries. Yet behind their familiar image lies a mystery that runs deeper than mere scale. Were these vast structures simply tombs for ancient kings, as the conventional narrative insists, or do they conceal a more profound purpose? The pyramids of Giza, especially the Great Pyramid, seem to embody an extraordinary code, one that links heaven and earth through stone, number, and alignment. To walk among them is to stand in the presence of a riddle carved on a colossal scale. The Great Pyramid of Khufu alone is enough to baffle modern engineering. Rising originally to a height of nearly 481 feet, composed of over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing more than 70 tons, it is aligned to true north with a precision of less than a fraction of a degree. Even with today's technology, such alignment would require surveying instruments of the highest order. Yet according to Egyptology, it was accomplished with ropes, simple sightlines, and sheer manpower. This explanation, however, cannot account for the fact that the Great Pyramid's base is not only nearly perfectly square but also incorporates subtle curvature to its sides, a design feature that reduces structural stress, an architectural decision more advanced than we would expect from a Bronze Age culture. But it is not only the engineering that mystifies, it is the mathematics encoded in the pyramid itself. The ratio of its height to its base approximates the value of pi. Its proportions reflect the golden ratio, a mathematical constant considered the cornerstone of sacred geometry. The dimensions of its base seem to correspond to the circumference of the Earth, while its height encodes its radius, suggesting that whoever designed the pyramid had a geodetic understanding of the planet. Could this really be coincidence? Or does the Great Pyramid serve as a kind of stone textbook, preserving advanced scientific knowledge for future generations? Even more haunting are the alignments. The three main pyramids of Giza are not arranged randomly. Their layout mirrors the stars of Orion's belt, tilted at the same angle as the constellation. When viewed as part of a larger landscape, they align with the Nile River, which scholars suggest symbolically mirrors the Milky Way. This correlation has fueled the Orion correlation theory, which proposes that the pyramids were designed as a map of the heavens on Earth. If this is true, then the pyramid complex is not just a necropolis, it is a cosmic diagram, a fusion of earthbound architecture and celestial design. Such intent suggests a level of astronomical knowledge far beyond what the Old Kingdom Egyptians are believed to have possessed. Inside the Great Pyramid, further mysteries unfold. Narrow shafts extend from its chambers, originally thought to be for ventilation, but later studies reveal they point directly to key stars, Orion, Sirius, and others. This suggests that the builders wanted to create not merely a tomb but a structure that connected the soul of the pharaoh to the heavens. Yet if the alignments are so exact, why should we limit their significance to spiritual metaphor? Could they represent a coded message about humanity's place in the cosmos, a bridge between earth and sky? The debate between mainstream archaeology and alternative theories is fierce. Orthodox scholars insist that the pyramids were tombs and symbols of royal power, pointing to inscriptions and artifacts as evidence. Yet no body has ever been found in the Great Pyramid, no funerary texts line its walls, and its design differs radically from other burial monuments of Egypt. Alternative researchers argue that the absence of such features is telling, that the pyramids were never tombs at all, but machines of knowledge, perhaps even energy. Some suggest they harnessed acoustic resonance, water flow, or subtle earth energies, turning the pyramid into a kind of spiritual technology. Others go further, speculating that the pyramid was designed as a message in stone, encoding universal truths about mathematics, astronomy, and the cycles of time. The connection to cycles of time is especially intriguing. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of the Tepe, a first time when gods walked among men. Some believe the pyramids were deliberately aligned to the skies not of 2500 BCE, but of 10,500 BCE, a date when Orion aligned perfectly with the pyramid's orientation. If true, this would suggest that the builders were referencing a much earlier epoch, perhaps even pointing back to a lost civilization predating Egypt itself. Could the pyramids, then, be monuments of memory, encoding not only science but also history, meant to remind future generations of a forgotten past? Skeptics dismiss such theories as fantasy, but the weight of recurring patterns is hard to ignore. The same sacred numbers that appear in Egyptian design, 72, 360, 432, are found across other megalithic sites, from Stonehenge to Angkor Wat. The same obsession with celestial alignment appears in cultures across the globe. If the Great Pyramid is a stone archive of encoded knowledge, then it is not alone. It is part of a network, a global tradition of builders speaking in the same symbolic language. As the sun sets behind the pyramids, casting their long shadows across the desert, one cannot help but feel they were meant to endure not only as monuments to the dead but as messages to the living. Their silence is deceptive, for in their proportions, their alignments, and their impossible precision lies a story we are only beginning to read. Were the pyramids of Giza the most magnificent tombs ever built, or were they a chapter in the Megalith Code, a message carved into stone to remind us of truths too important to forget? In the misty lowlands of southern England, a ring of massive stones rises from the grassy plain, weathered by thousands of winters yet still standing in quiet defiance of time. This is Stonehenge, perhaps the most recognizable megalithic monument in the world. To most, it is a tourist site or a picturesque ruin, but to those who look closer, it is a puzzle carved into the very fabric of the earth. Its silent stones are not arranged randomly. They are carefully positioned in a pattern that reveals both an extraordinary understanding of the sky and a deliberate effort to lock that knowledge into the earth for eternity. Stonehenge is not just a circle of stones. It is a code, a calendar, and perhaps even a key to understanding why ancient builders all over the world were obsessed with tracking time in stone. The origins of Stonehenge are wrapped in mystery. Constructed in multiple stages over more than 1,000 years, beginning as early as 3100 BCE, its builders hauled massive sarsen stones weighing up to 25 tons and smaller bluestones transported from over 150 miles away in Wales. The effort required to transport, shape, and position these stones would have demanded a level of social organization, planning, and engineering that far surpasses what we assume of the societies of Neolithic Britain. Yet the most haunting aspect of Stonehenge is not its scale but its purpose. Archaeologists debate whether it was a temple, a burial ground, or a gathering place for ritual. But when the rising sun of the summer solstice shines directly into its heart, illuminating the center of the circle, it becomes clear that Stonehenge was no ordinary monument. It was built to capture time itself. The alignments encoded in Stonehenge are breathtaking. Its axis points precisely to the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset. Other stones mark lunar extremes, capturing an 18.6-year cycle of the moon that few modern people even know exists. The entire structure operates as a complex astronomical observatory, allowing its builders to track solstices, equinoxes, lunar phases, and perhaps even eclipses. To achieve this, the builders needed not only a long tradition of skywatching but also the ability to translate those observations into monumental architecture. Stonehenge, then, is not just a calendar. It is a stone computer, a mechanism for locking cosmic cycles into the landscape in a way that would survive storms, wars, and even the collapse of civilization itself. But why? Why would Neolithic builders devote such immense effort to constructing a time machine of stone? The obvious explanation is ritual. They worshipped the sun. They honored the cycles of nature. Yet deeper questions linger. Was Stonehenge a sacred site because of its astronomical function? Or did its astronomical function serve a higher purpose? Some researchers suggest it was designed to help predict agricultural cycles, a practical tool for survival. Others argue that it encoded knowledge of much larger cosmic rhythms, perhaps even the precession of the equinoxes, the 26,000-year wobble of Earth's axis that marks out the Great Year, a cycle linked to cataclysmic shifts in climate and civilization. If so, Stonehenge may have been more than a tool for farmers. It may have been a warning device, a way of tracking the turning of cosmic gears that periodically bring upheaval to the world. Legends surrounding Stonehenge hint at its deeper significance. Medieval accounts spoke of giants who carried the stones from distant lands, or of Merlin the magician who set them in place with sorcery. These tales, dismissed by scholars as fanciful folklore, may instead reflect an ancient memory of lost knowledge, the sense that Stonehenge was beyond human capacity. Even today, many who visit the site report a strange energy, as though the stones themselves hold memory, silently radiating a message across the ages. Could it be that these myths are echoes of a time when the purpose of the monument was better understood? There are also clues in the numbers embedded in Stonehenge design. The circle contains 56 pits, known as the Aubrey holes, whose number may encode lunar cycles. Other counts suggest awareness of eclipses and other astronomical phenomena. This obsession with number mirrors patterns seen in megalithic structures worldwide. Sacred numbers such as 72, 360, and 432 reappear, numbers tied not only to timekeeping but to myths and cosmology across cultures. If these numbers are part of a universal language, then Stonehenge is not an isolated anomaly but a node in a global code, a message written in the language of the cosmos. Mainstream archaeology resists such interpretations, emphasizing ritual over science. Yet the sheer persistence of alignments, numbers, and patterns makes it difficult to dismiss the idea that Stonehenge was intentionally designed as part of a larger knowledge system. It is unlikely that so many features, solar, lunar, numeric, are mere coincidence. Instead, they appear to be deliberate, forming a body of encoded information carved into stone. Stonehenge, like the Great Pyramid and Gobekli Tepe, stands as evidence of a tradition that sought to preserve cosmic truths in monuments meant to endure forever. To walk among the stones at dawn or dusk is to feel the weight of this mystery. The silence of the circle is profound, broken only by the wind as it rushes through gaps between pillars. One can imagine the builders standing there thousands of years ago, watching the first rays of the solstice sun ignite the horizon, seeing their monument come alive with light, the heavens and the earth joined in a single cosmic act. It was not a coincidence. It was design. It was code. And so, Stonehenge emerges as more than a monument of Britain. It is a chapter in the larger Megalith Code, a place where time itself was measured and recorded in stone. It reminds us that the builders of the ancient world were not primitive laborists but astronomers, mathematicians, and custodians of knowledge. The circle of stones whispers the same haunting message carried by pyramids and temples across the globe. We knew the cycles, we knew the stars, we knew that what has been will be again. Whether Stonehenge was a temple, a calendar, or a cosmic warning system, its ultimate purpose may be to draw our attention to the hidden language of time, a language that binds us to the past and warns us of the future. In the highlands of Peru, where the air thins and the clouds brush the mountaintops, lies one of the most haunting legacies of megalithic construction, the Cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman. At first glance, the site looks like a fortress, with immense interlocking blocks of stone forming ramparts that tower above the city of Cusco. Yet the precision of these stones is so extraordinary that even modern engineers struggle to explain it. Each block, some weighing more than 100 tons, has been carved with irregular shapes and angles, then fitted against its neighbors so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slide between them. The stones bend and curve around corners, locking into place with a complexity that seems both artistic and mathematical. To walk along these walls is to confront the paradox of the ancient world. How could a people without iron tools, without wheels, and without advanced machinery have created a structure that defies explanation even today? The Inca are credited with building Sacsayhuaman, but local legends and even some early Spanish chroniclers insisted that its origins predated the Incas themselves. The Inca inherited it, they said, but did not build it. The massive stones were already there, remnants of a time when the gods or the giants walked the earth. Such stories echo the myths of Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, and other megalithic sites, where memory blurs and the builders become larger than life. If the Inca truly did not build the walls from scratch, then who did? And more importantly, why do the walls seem to encode patterns far beyond the needs of simple defense? The engineering of Sacsayhuaman is baffling. Modern stoneworkers typically cut blocks into simple rectangular shapes, making them easier to quarry, transport, and align. But at Sacsayhuaman, the blocks are anything but simple. They are polygonal, with 6, 8, 10, sometimes even 12 sides, each interlocking perfectly with its neighbors. To carve such shapes into granite and andesite, some of the hardest stones on Earth, would require advanced tools, yet there is no evidence that the builders possessed metal chisels strong enough for the task. Instead, the stones appear almost mold, as if softened and then frozen into place, a technique that sparks endless speculation about lost technologies. Could heat, sound, or even chemical processes unknown to us today have been used? Equally puzzling is how the stones were moved. Without the wheel or draft animals capable of hauling such weight, the transportation of blocks weighing up to 100 tons seems nearly impossible. The quarries lie miles away, across rugged terrain and steep inclines. Mainstream explanations suggest that thousands of workers drag the stones with ropes, levers, and ramps. Yet the sheer scale of the operation, combined with the irregular shapes of the stones, makes this theory feel incomplete. If we can barely imagine moving such stones today with cranes and machinery, how could it have been accomplished with manpower alone? Unless, of course, the builders possessed methods of lifting and transporting stone that have since been lost to history. But Sacsayhuaman is not just an engineering marvel, it also encodes a mystery of purpose. The zigzagging walls mirror lightning, a sacred symbol in Andean cosmology. Some researchers argue that the entire site was designed as a representation of a puma, the sacred animal of power, with Sacsayhuaman forming its head. Others point to alignments with celestial events, suggesting that the fortress was also an observatory, much like Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt. Its platforms offer sweeping views of the horizon, perfect for tracking solstices, equinoxes, and the cycles of the stars. If true, Sacsayhuaman was more than a fortress, it was a cosmic center, a fusion of earth and sky carved into stone. Earthquake resistance adds another layer to the mystery. Peru sits along one of the most seismically active regions in the world, yet the megalithic walls of Sacsayhuaman have endured countless quakes over the centuries. The Inca-built structures nearby, using smaller rectangular stones, have often crumbled, while the older megalithic walls remain solid. The irregular polygonal shapes, far from being inefficient, seem deliberately engineered to withstand seismic forces. They interlock like puzzle pieces, dissipating energy in ways modern engineers are only beginning to understand. Was this knowledge the product of trial and error, or did the builders inherit a deeper understanding of geometry and forces? Even more intriguing are the subtle patterns hidden within the stones themselves. Some blocks bear faint marks resembling tool impressions, yet no known tool from the Inca period could have produced them. Others have odd protrusions, small knobs left on the surface, as though they once served as lifting points or markers in some construction code. Similar protrusions are found on megalithic stones across the world, in Egypt, Turkey, and even Japan. Could this be evidence of a shared technique, a universal code of builders who spread their knowledge across continents? The legends surrounding Sacsayhuaman deepen the enigma. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, the great creator god, who brought order to the world after a time of chaos. Some myths claim that Viracocha's followers built the walls, possessing powers far beyond those of ordinary humans. The Spanish chroniclers, too, were astonished. They described the walls as the work of demons or giants, unable to accept that ordinary men could achieve such feats. Perhaps these legends are symbolic, but perhaps they are fragments of memory, echoes of a time when knowledge now lost was once known. To stand before the walls of Sacsayhuaman is to confront an ancient intelligence. The stones loom above, their sheer size radiating a silent authority. Touch the surface of a block and it feels impossibly smooth, the edges impossibly sharp. Step back, and the wall seems alive, a serpent of stone snaking across the hill, as though the builders wanted it to embody both strength and mystery. The site is not merely a ruin, it is a code, a riddle carved into the very bones of the earth. What is most remarkable is how Sacsayhuaman ties into the broader Megalith Code. Its polygonal stones echo the interlocking masonry found in places as distant as Ollantaytambo in Peru, Tiwanaku in Bolivia, and even certain structures in ancient Egypt. The same techniques, the same patterns, reappear across continents. Could it be coincidence? Or is it the fingerprint of a forgotten civilization, one that encoded its knowledge in stone, leaving behind messages we are only beginning to decipher? Sacsayhuaman, like Stonehenge and the pyramids, demands that we reconsider the story of human history. These walls do not belong to a primitive people experimenting with stone. They belong to a tradition of builders who understood geometry, astronomy, and engineering at a level far beyond what conventional timelines allow. Whether they were Inca, pre-Inca, or inheritors of something even older, the message remains the same. The past is not what we think it is. In the walls of Sacsayhuaman, the ancient builders left us a chapter of the Megalith Code, a reminder that civilizations may rise and fall, but stone remembers. High on the windswept Altiplano of Bolivia lies a place so strange and so confounding that even seasoned archaeologists struggle to explain it. This is Puma Punku, a ruined complex of stone blocks scattered across the earth like the aftermath of some colossal explosion. Unlike Sacsayhuaman, with its curving, interlocking walls, Puma Punku is defined by precision cuts, right angles, and surfaces so smooth they look as if they were machined. Massive andesite blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are carved with perfect grooves, channels, and interlocking joints, features that appear as if they were manufactured in a modern factory, not carved by hand with stone tools. Standing among the scattered blocks, one is confronted with the unsettling thought: was this site the work of ordinary human hands, or the remnants of a lost technology that we no longer understand? The official story is that Puma Punku was built by the Tiwanaku culture around 500 to 600 CE. Yet when one examines the stones closely, the neat explanation begins to crumble. The Tiwanaku had no writing system, no known metallurgy capable of cutting granite and andesite with such precision, and no wheel for moving multi-ton blocks across rough terrain. How, then, did they achieve what looks like industrial-level stoneworking? Scholars often retreat to vague explanations. They used bronze chisels, they used sand abrasion, they had limitless manpower. But these theories feel increasingly inadequate when one studies the crisp, laser-straight cuts, or the perfectly drilled holes that pepper the stones of Puma Punku. One of the most iconic features of the site is the mysterious H-blocks. Each of these large andesite stones is carved into an intricate H shape, complete with channels, grooves, and recesses that appear designed to fit together like giant pieces of Lego. Dozens of these blocks exist, nearly identical in size and proportion, as though they were mass-produced. This is not random stone shaping, it is modular construction, a system that suggests an advanced architectural plan. The precision of these blocks is so astonishing that some engineers have compared them to prefabricated components from a modern assembly line. What possible tools could have allowed this level of symmetry more than 1,000 years ago? Transporting the stones is no less baffling. Some of the largest blocks weigh 130 tons, quarried from mountains over 10 miles away. Without wheels, pulleys, or beasts of burden capable of hauling such weight, how could the builders have moved them? Even if thousands of workers dragged them on ropes, the logistics of hauling such monoliths across uneven ground and through marshland defy imagination. It suggests either a mastery of techniques we do not know, or access to methods of moving stone that border on the impossible. Ancient legends whisper of stones that were softened or made to float, hinting at technologies that today sound like fantasy but may have roots in lost practices of physics or chemistry. The purpose of Puma Punku deepens the enigma. Some researchers argue it was a ceremonial center, aligned with Tiwanaku's religious beliefs. Others suggest it was an observatory, its stone arrangements marking solstices and equinoxes. Yet when examined from a higher perspective, the layout of Puma Punku seems almost industrial, like a workshop or assembly yard where giant stone components were crafted, stored, and possibly even assembled into larger structures. The channels carved into the blocks may have been designed for water or some other fluid, hinting at hydraulic systems. Could Puma Punku have been more than a temple? Could it have been part of a complex technological site whose purpose has been erased from history? Adding to the mystery are the tool marks themselves. Many of the grooves and cuts in the stone look uncannily like those made by modern saws and drills. Perfectly round holes penetrate the blocks with consistent depth and spacing, suggesting the use of rotary drilling. Some cuts are so straight and precise they appear to have been made with diamond-tip tools or high-powered saws. Yet no such tools exist in the archaeological record of the Tiwanaku. Mainstream archaeology insists that simple methods with copper chisels and abrasives could achieve the same results over time. But when placed beside the evidence, the uniformity, the exactness, the replication across multiple blocks, the explanation feels inadequate, as though we are forcing a primitive answer onto a sophisticated problem. The mythology of the region only adds fuel to the fire. The Inca, who rose centuries later, claimed Tiwanaku as the cradle of mankind, a place where the gods descended to shape the world. Viracocha, the great creator deity, is said to have emerged from Lake Titicaca and begun his work of forming humanity near these very ruins. To the Inca, Puma Punku was not merely a ruin, it was a divine birthplace. Such stories suggest that even the people who lived closest to the site in later centuries viewed it as older, sacred, and beyond human origin. Earthquakes and centuries of neglect have scattered the stones of Puma Punku across the plain, giving it the appearance of chaos. Yet when one reconstructs the site digitally, aligning the blocks as they may once have stood, an astonishing picture emerges. The interlocking H-blocks could form massive walls, their precision preventing collapse. Channels may have formed part of an advanced water management system, and alignments with celestial events suggest that the builders were keenly aware of the movements of the heavens. The more one studies Puma Punku, the more it begins to resemble not a random pile of ruins but a complex coded structure designed with both engineering and cosmic significance in mind. Perhaps most unsettling of all is the global connection. The same protruding knobs found on stones at Puma Punku appear on blocks in Egypt, Turkey, and even Cambodia. The same interlocking masonry appears in Peru, Japan, and Greece. The same astronomical alignments recur across continents. Could it be coincidence, or is it evidence of a shared knowledge system, a global tradition of builders who encoded their wisdom into stone? If so, Puma Punku is not an isolated site but part of a vast network, a chapter in the Megalith Code that spans the entire planet. Standing at Puma Punku today, with the Andean wind whipping through the ruins, one feels the weight of that possibility. These stones are not silent. They speak in geometry, in symmetry, in impossibility. They whisper of a forgotten age when knowledge was encoded in stone so that it might outlast the rise and fall of civilizations. Whether built by the Tiwanaku with lost methods, inherited from an earlier unknown culture, or touched by forces we dare not name, Puma Punku remains one of the strongest pieces of evidence that human history is incomplete. In its shattered blocks lies the suggestion that we have forgotten far more than we remember, and that the Megalith Code is not just myth, but reality waiting to be deciphered. On the desolate plains near the shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca lies Tiwanaku, a site that, to the casual observer, may seem like a collection of ruined walls and scattered stones. Yet for those who look deeper, Tiwanaku is a monumental riddle, a place where the line between myth and archaeology blurs. Long before the Inca built their empire, Tiwanaku was the center of a mysterious civilization that flourished at an altitude of nearly 13,000 feet, one of the harshest environments in the world for agriculture and human survival. And yet, against all odds, this culture rose to prominence, building temples, palaces, and monuments that still defy explanation. If Puma Punku is the workshop of lost technology, Tiwanaku is the ceremonial heart, a city of gods, where stone was used to encode cosmic truths and perhaps even the origins of humanity itself. The centerpiece of Tiwanaku is the Akapana Pyramid, a massive terrace structure built of earth and stone that once rose 7 levels high. Though eroded and pillaged by centuries of stone theft, its sheer scale hints at a sacred purpose. Drainage systems carved into the structure suggest that water played a vital role in its design, perhaps symbolizing the flow of life or the cosmic waters of creation. Surrounding the pyramid are smaller temples and courtyards, each aligned with the cardinal directions, forming a city plan that seems less random and more like a carefully crafted cosmological map. Every corner of Tiwanaku seems to hum with symbolism, geometry, alignment, and hidden meaning embedded into the stones themselves. The Kalasasaya Temple is another focal point, an immense rectangular courtyard ringed by towering stone pillars. Here, astronomical alignments take center stage. The temple's walls are positioned to mark the solstices and equinoxes, creating a giant calendar that could track the solar year with remarkable accuracy. At dawn on the solstice, the sun rises perfectly between the pillars, as if the temple itself were a machine for locking the heavens into stone. Such precision reveals that the builders of Tiwanaku were more than masons. They were astronomers, mapping the skies with the same devotion that other civilizations reserved for their gods. Then there is the iconic Gateway of the Sun, a single massive block of andesite carved with intricate reliefs. Weighing over 10 tons and standing nearly 10 feet tall, this megalith contains imagery so complex that scholars still argue about its meaning. At the center is a deity often identified as Viracocha, the great creator god, holding staffs that may symbolize lightning or power. Surrounding him are smaller winged figures, arranged in a pattern that some believe encodes astronomical cycles. Some researchers argue that the carvings represent a solar calendar of 365 days, while others claim they record far more complex cycles, including the 11-year solar cycle or even the precession of the equinoxes. If true, the Gateway of the Sun is not simply a religious icon but a coded text in stone, a message about time, cycles, and cosmic order. Legends of the Inca claim that Tiwanaku was not built by ordinary humans but by Viracocha himself. According to the myths, Viracocha emerged from Lake Titicaca after a great flood and brought civilization to the people, teaching them agriculture, architecture, and astronomy before vanishing across the ocean. Tiwanaku, then, was seen as the place of first creation, the cradle of humanity. Spanish chroniclers recorded these stories with fascination, noting how the local people regarded the ruins as sacred, far older than their own ancestors. For the Inca, Tiwanaku was already ancient, a monument to a forgotten age when gods or giants walked the earth. The engineering of Tiwanaku is no less mysterious than its myths. Blocks weighing up to 100 tons were transported across vast distances, carved with precision, and placed in complex arrangements that still inspire awe today. Some stones are cut with deep grooves and interlocking joints, suggesting advanced masonry techniques. The same knobs seen at Pumapunku appear here too, hinting at a construction method, or a code, that was consistent across sites. Yet mainstream archaeology insists that all of this was achieved with simple stone tools and human labor. The problem is that no evidence has ever been found of tools capable of producing such results, leaving us with a gap in the story that grows more glaring the deeper we look. Adding to the intrigue is the alignment of Tiwanaku with Lake Titicaca itself. Archaeological evidence suggests that in ancient times, the shoreline of the lake reached far closer to the city than it does today. This raises the possibility that Tiwanaku was once a port city, connected to vast networks of trade and movement across the highland waters. If so, the builders may have chosen the site not only for its spiritual significance but for its geographic position, perhaps as a center of both commerce and cosmic observation. Could Tiwanaku have been a hub where sacred knowledge was exchanged, encoded, and preserved? Some researchers have proposed that Tiwanaku's ruins encode mathematical knowledge as well. Ratios within its structures correspond to astronomical constants, and some measurements suggest awareness of the golden ratio and other principles of sacred geometry. If these claims hold true, Tiwanaku was not simply a ceremonial center but a stone library, a place where knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and cosmology was carved into architecture so that it could endure through the ages. Such encoding would place Tiwanaku alongside Stonehenge, the pyramids, and other megalithic sites in a global tradition of monuments that speak in the universal language of number and proportion. Standing at Tiwanaku today, the atmosphere is haunting. The thin mountain air presses down as clouds drift across the sky, casting shadows that seem to animate the stones. Tourists walk through the ruins, often unaware that they are stepping through a city once considered the birthplace of humanity. For those who linger, however, Tiwanaku whispers its secrets: alignments with the sun, carvings that chart the stars, myths of gods who walk the earth. The site is both ruin and revelation, a fragment of a larger story written in stone. When viewed through the lens of the Megalith Code, Tiwanaku becomes more than an archaeological curiosity. It becomes a node in a network, a place where cosmic knowledge was locked into architecture so it could outlast the fall of civilizations. Its myths, its alignments, and its stones all point to the same conclusion. The builders were encoding a message about humanity's connection to the cosmos. Whether that message was a warning, a guide, or a record of who we once were, Tiwanaku remains one of the most powerful chapters in the hidden history of the world. And just like the gateway of the sun, it invites us to step through, to leave behind the certainty of what we think we know and confront the possibility that our past is far stranger than we dare imagine. Beneath the shimmering expanse of Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, lies one of the most extraordinary and least understood chapters of ancient history. At an altitude of over 12,000 feet, where oxygen is thin and the environment is harsh, local legends speak of a time when the gods themselves emerged from the waters to shape the world. For the Inca, this was the birthplace of civilization, the place where Viracocha, the great creator deity, rose after a great flood and brought order to chaos. Yet in the 21st century, divers exploring the depths of the lake discovered something that gave these ancient myths startling new weight: the submerged ruins of massive stone structures, terraces, and even what appears to be a sunken temple. Suddenly, the boundary between myth and archaeology blurred in the icy waters of Titicaca. In the year 2000, an international team of archaeologists reported finding evidence of a large, submerged complex beneath the lake. Among their discoveries were walls built from carefully cut stones, a 660-foot-long terrace, and what may be a temple site. Some stones weighed several tons, their placement suggesting deliberate human engineering rather than natural formations. The implications were staggering. How old were these ruins? Who built them? And how did they end up underwater? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the structures belonged to the Tiwanaku or pre-Tiwanaku cultures, and were flooded due to changes in lake levels. But others argue the ruins are far older, perhaps dating to a time before recorded history, when the Andes looked very different than they do today. The mythological connections cannot be ignored. Andean legends tell of a great flood that once swept the world, an event echoing the deluge myths of Mesopotamia, India, and even the Bible. In these stories, Lake Titicaca becomes not just a lake but a womb of creation, a sacred place where humanity was reborn after catastrophe. Could the submerged ruins be physical evidence of such a cataclysm, a memory carved in stone and preserved beneath the waters? If so, they may represent one of the most compelling links between ancient mythology and geological reality, bridging the gap between legend and history. Equally fascinating is the possibility that these ruins predate the Tiwanaku civilization itself. Some researchers propose that they may be remnants of a much earlier culture, one that flourished in the Andes before the end of the last ice age. Around 12,000 years ago, glacial melting caused dramatic shifts in global sea levels and lake levels. If the Lake Titicaca ruins date back to this period, they would not only rewrite the history of South America but also place the Andes firmly within the global mystery of lost civilizations, cultures capable of building monumental stone architecture long before conventional timelines allow. The engineering of the submerged site mirrors the mysteries seen on land at Tiwanaku and Pumapunku. Divers report blocks shaped with right angles, terraces that follow deliberate geometrical patterns, and structures aligned with what may once have been astronomical markers. Just as with other megalithic sites, the ruins beneath Lake Titicaca suggest a deep connection between stone, water, and sky. Water, in particular, seems to hold a sacred role. At Tiwanaku, complex drainage systems channel water through ceremonial spaces, symbolizing creation and fertility. Beneath Titicaca itself, a temple submerged in the primal waters could represent the ultimate union of earth and cosmos, a message encoded in stone and preserved beneath the surface for millennia. Local traditions preserve memory of this sacred relationship. Even today, the indigenous Aymara and Quechua peoples honor Lake Titicaca with rituals that blend Catholicism with ancient beliefs. Offerings of flowers, coca leaves, and even miniature models of houses and wealth are given to the lake, as if acknowledging it as both a source of life and a gate to the divine. To them, the lake is alive, a being that watches, remembers, and responds. Could it be that their ancestors understood the ruins as more than mere buildings, as portals, codes, or records left behind by the gods themselves? When examined through the lens of the Megalith Code, the significance of Lake Titicaca becomes even more profound. Across the world, from the Mediterranean to Japan, submerged ruins point to cataclysms that drowned entire cities. The Yonaguni Monument in Japan, the sunken ruins off the coast of India at Dwarka, and the mysterious remains off Cuba all suggest that global floods destroyed civilizations that once thrived near water. The ruins of Lake Titicaca fit perfectly into this pattern. Could it be that the builders of these sunken structures were part of the same lost global culture, one that encoded its knowledge in stone so it might survive even when their cities were swallowed by the sea? The astronomical significance of the region deepens the mystery. The islands of the sun and moon, sacred sites within the lake, align with solar cycles and seasonal markers. Myths say that the first Inca king, Manco Capac, and his sister wife Mama Oclo, emerged from the waters of Lake Titicaca, sent by the sun god to establish civilization. These stories echo the global motif of divine ancestors emerging from water after destruction, bringing order and knowledge. When paired with the submerged ruins, the symbolism becomes startlingly literal. Perhaps the stories of divine ancestors are folk memories of real survivors, custodians of lost knowledge who rebuilt after catastrophe. To stand at the shores of Lake Titicaca today is to sense its haunting duality. On the surface, fishermen guide their reed boats across calm waters, and tourists visit the floating islands of Ush, where people still live in a way that recalls ancient traditions. But beneath those waters lie silent stones, their builders forgotten, their meaning obscured, their presence a constant reminder that history is incomplete. Divers who descend into the depths describe an eerie quiet, broken only by bubbles and the shifting light of the sun above. To touch the submerged stones is to bridge two worlds, the world of myth and the world of archaeology, united in the icy depths. The ruins beneath Lake Titicaca may never fully reveal their secrets, yet they stand as one of the clearest pieces of evidence that ancient myths of floods, gods, and lost civilizations are more than allegories. They may be memories, encoded in stone, preserved in story, and waiting to be recognized. In the Megalith Code, Lake Titicaca is not just a lake but a chapter in a global saga of creation and destruction, survival and memory. It reminds us that the waters of the earth conceal as much as they reveal, and that beneath their surface may lie the keys to understanding who we truly are and what we have forgotten. Beneath the world's oceans lie ruins that challenge everything we believe about the timeline of civilization. Archaeologists and explorers, often working in extreme conditions, have stumbled upon enigmatic structures that appear far too sophisticated for the timeframes accepted by mainstream history. These submerged monuments, scattered across the globe from Japan to the Caribbean to the coasts of India, tell a story of cataclysm, resilience, and memory preserved in stone. Each site is controversial, each explanation hotly debated, yet together they whisper of an age when sea levels were drastically lower, when vast coastal settlements flourished, and when a sudden flood buried entire worlds beneath the waves. This is the silent chapter of human history, a chapter that mainstream archaeology often overlooks, but one that resonates with ancient flood myths and the idea of a forgotten civilization wiped from the surface of the earth. Perhaps the most famous of these underwater enigmas is the Yonaguni Monument, discovered off the coast of Japan in 1987. Divers found an enormous structure of step terraces, platforms, and sharp-angled features carved into solid rock. Some sections resemble staircases, others look like plazas or roads. Measuring nearly 500 feet long and 90 feet high, the monument appears almost like a sunken city or temple complex. Mainstream scholars argue it is a natural geological formation, the result of tectonic activity and erosion. Yet many divers, including geologist Dr. Masaaki Kimura, maintain that tool marks, right angles, and intentional shaping are evident across the structure. If human hands did indeed carve Yonaguni, it would mean advanced construction existed in Japan at least 12,000 years ago, long before the rise of dynastic Egypt or Mesopotamia. The controversy mirrors what we see in India, near the ancient city of Dwarka. In 2001, marine archaeologists discovered ruins off the coast of Gujarat, massive stone blocks, streets, and possible foundations lying 120 feet beneath the sea. What stunned researchers was the dating. Artifacts retrieved from the site suggested it could be more than 9,000 years old. This directly aligns with descriptions in Hindu scriptures, which describe Dwarka as a magnificent city built by Lord Krishna, later swallowed by the sea. Skeptics argue that the ruins are not necessarily part of a grand city but remnants of smaller settlements. Yet the scale and precision of the site hint at something far larger, perhaps even legendary. Here again, myth and archaeology intertwine, an ancient story of a drowned city suddenly backed by physical evidence beneath the waves. Across the ocean in the Bahamas, another underwater mystery emerged in the 1960s, the Bimini Road. Divers discovered a long, linear formation of massive rectangular stones lying in shallow waters. The blocks resemble a paved roadway or wall, stretching for nearly half a mile. Some researchers insist it is a natural phenomenon, the result of beach rock fracturing and erosion. But others point out the uniformity, the neatly aligned edges, and the way the stones interlock as though deliberately placed. The Bimini discovery gained extra mystique because of Edgar Cayce, the American mystic who predicted in the 1930s that remnants of Atlantis would be found in Bimini in the late 1960s. The timing and location seemed uncanny, fueling speculation that the Bimini Road may indeed be a fragment of a lost civilization. When taken together, these submerged sites form a compelling global pattern. Around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, glacier melted, and sea levels rose by over 300 feet worldwide. Vast areas of land that once hosted human settlements were swallowed by the oceans. If advanced coastal civilizations existed during this period, their cities would now be lost beneath the waves, preserved only in stone and memory. The ruins at Yonaguni, Dwarka, and Bimini may represent just the visible fragments of a much larger, hidden history waiting to be uncovered. The ocean is vast, covering over 70% of the planet, and less than 10% of the seafloor has been fully explored. What else might lie waiting beneath the waters, still undiscovered? Flood myths from every culture seem to echo this possibility. From the story of Noah in the Bible to the Sumerian tale of Utnapishtim, from Hindu accounts of Manu surviving a cosmic flood to Native American legends of waters rising and reshaping the land, humanity has preserved in its collective memory the trauma of global cataclysm. These stories may not be mere allegories, they may be historical recollections of real events when rising waters destroyed entire worlds. The submerged ruins we now explore may be the physical remnants of those lost civilizations, their stones bearing silent testimony to survival and destruction. But what truly unsettles conventional history is not just the ruins themselves but the technological implications. If Yonaguni is man-made, if Dwarka truly predates the Indus Valley civilization, If Bimini was deliberately constructed, then ancient humans were capable of advanced architectural feats thousands of years before mainstream timelines permit. That would place the builders of these sites as contemporaries of hunter-gatherers, overturning the evolutionary model of cultural development. It would mean that the rise of civilization was not a slow, linear climb but a story of cycles: growth, destruction, survival, and rebirth. Even the alignment of these sites seems to connect them to a greater code. Many submerged ruins show evidence of geometric planning, orientation to the cardinal directions, and links to celestial movements, motifs we see repeated in megalithic sites on land. If these were indeed deliberate choices, then the builders of these underwater monuments were part of a global tradition of encoding knowledge into stone, perhaps to preserve it against inevitable catastrophe. It is as though they were sending a message across time, leaving a puzzle for future generations to piece together. To gaze upon these underwater ruins, even through photographs and sonar maps, is to feel a sense of awe and loss. Divers describe descending into Yonaguni as entering another world, sunlight filtering down to reveal monumental shapes in the quiet. Darkness. The ruins stand in silence, eroded but not erased, witnesses to a story humanity has forgotten. In Dwarka, the sacred connection between myth and stone makes the waters themselves feel holy, as if they are guarding secrets too vast to be fully revealed. And in Bimini, the stones lie beneath the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, quiet yet provocative, hinting at something greater just beyond the reach of certainty. What unites these places is not certainty but mystery. They do not answer our questions definitively, but they challenge us to reconsider what we think we know about the past. They demand that we look beyond the surface, both literally and figuratively, to acknowledge that history may not be a straight line from primitive to advanced. It may be a spiral, repeating through cycles of rise and fall. The ruins beneath the seas are fragments of those forgotten spirals, pieces of an older world that once thrived and then drowned. In the Megalith Code, these underwater sites are not isolated anomalies. They are crucial keys. They reveal that water is both destroyer and preserver, erasing entire civilizations while simultaneously safeguarding their stones for future discovery. They show us that myths are not just stories but memories encoded across cultures. And they warn us that the oceans, which today conceal the secrets of the past, may once again rise to shape the fate of humanity. For thousands of years, the legend of Atlantis has captivated the imagination of explorers, philosophers, and seekers of hidden truths. First mentioned by the Greek philosopher Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Atlantis was described as a mighty island civilization that existed around 9,000 years before his own time. According to his account, it was a society of immense wealth and power, built upon advanced engineering, intricate canals, grand palaces, and temples adorned with orichalcum, a mysterious red gold metal. The Atlanteans, once noble and virtuous, became corrupted by greed and hubris. The gods, angered by their arrogance, punished them with a single cataclysmic event. In a single day and night of misfortune, Plato tells us, the entire island of Atlantis sank beneath the sea and was lost forever. For skeptics, the tale of Atlantis has always been interpreted as an allegory, a cautionary myth created by Plato to illustrate moral decline and divine punishment. Yet the sheer level of detail in his description has fueled endless speculation. Was Plato drawing upon a memory of an actual lost civilization? Did he preserve a fragment of history passed down from earlier Egyptian sources, who themselves may have inherited the memory from survivors of some forgotten cataclysm? Or was he embedding hidden knowledge into his dialogues, knowledge that could only be fully appreciated centuries later when humanity rediscovered the ruins of its own forgotten past? What makes the Atlantis legend especially intriguing is how closely it aligns with global flood myths and the pattern of submerged ruins scattered around the world. Scholars have noted that Plato's dating, around 11,600 years ago, corresponds remarkably with the end of the Younger Dryas, a period of abrupt climate change and rising sea levels. During this time, massive glacial melt caused ocean waters to surge, submerging coastlines worldwide. Could Atlantis have been one of the great coastal civilizations swallowed by the sea, its memory surviving in myth, its ruins hidden beneath the waves? Various theories have attempted to locate Atlantis, each proposing a different geography for the fabled city. Some place it in the Mediterranean, suggesting the island of Santorini and the eruption of Thera as the catastrophic event that destroyed it. Others look westward, toward the Azores or the Caribbean, arguing that Atlantis lay in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, as Plato's description implies. Still others believe Atlantis may have been part of a more global civilization, fragments of which we now glimpse at Yonaguni, Dwarka, Bimini, and even Lake. Titicaca. Each hypothesis offers compelling clues, yet none has definitively solved the riddle. The architecture of Atlantis, as Plato described it, bears uncanny similarities to known megalithic traditions. He spoke of concentric rings of land and water, carefully engineered with canals and bridges, a layout that some researchers believe echoes circular city plans found in other ancient cultures. The Atlanteans were said to harness resources and technologies beyond the norm, mastering agriculture, architecture, and possibly even energy systems unknown to their contemporaries. In the context of the Megalith Code, Atlantis becomes not just a lost city but the archetype of a vanished world order, one whose echoes are faintly preserved in the megalithic sites scattered across the globe. What if Atlantis was not a single city but rather a symbol of an entire advanced culture that spanned continents? Evidence for such a possibility is tantalizing. The myths of the Maya and Aztec speak of ancestors who came from across the sea after floods destroyed their original homeland. The Egyptians spoke of the Tepe, or first time, when gods ruled the earth and civilization began anew after a great disaster. Even Native American tribes carry oral traditions of lands sinking beneath the water and survivors migrating to new territories. These echoes of a drowned golden age resonate with Plato's tale, suggesting that Atlantis may have been one part of a broader memory, a memory of a civilization erased by cataclysm but remembered in fragments across cultures. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from geology and archaeology. The dramatic sea level rise at the end of the Ice Age would have submerged vast stretches of land, including fertile plains and river valleys where human settlements likely thrived. Coastal cities, harbors, and trading hubs would have disappeared beneath the waves almost overnight in geological terms. When Plato described Atlantis sinking in a single day and night, was he encoding the trauma of such events, compressed into story form for future generations? If so, then Atlantis may not be a singular lost city but a collective memory of countless drowned settlements worldwide. Atlantis also holds symbolic power in modern times. For seekers of hidden history, it represents the possibility that humanity's story is far older and more complex than textbooks admit. For scientists, it stands as a challenge to reconcile myth with evidence, to ask whether oral traditions may preserve real geological events. And for those who sense that ancient builders left behind a code in their monuments, Atlantis may be the keystone, a civilization that once held the full knowledge of the Megalith Code, only to lose it in the waters of catastrophe. Whether real or allegorical, Atlantis continues to serve as a beacon of mystery. Every sonar scan of the ocean floor, every dive into submerged ruins, every comparison of myths across cultures brings us closer to understanding whether Plato's words were a parable or a veiled record of history. The fascination endures because Atlantis is more than a lost city. It is the haunting question of what humanity has forgotten, what secrets lie buried beneath the oceans, and whether fragments of that forgotten world still pulse within the stones of the megaliths we see today. In the grand journey of the Megalith Code, Atlantis is the central enigma. It ties together the themes of flood, myth, advanced knowledge, and sudden destruction. It invites us to imagine what might have been and to wonder what warnings its story carries for us now. Perhaps the greatest lesson of Atlantis is not just about the past but about the cycles of history, that civilizations rise, fall, and sometimes vanish overnight, leaving only whispers for the future to decode. High on a hill in southeastern Turkey, buried beneath layers of earth for thousands of years, lies a site so revolutionary that it has forced archaeologists to rethink the origins of civilization itself. This is Gobekli Tepe, the world's oldest known temple complex, dating back more than 11,000 years, predating Stonehenge by over 6,000 years and the pyramids of Egypt by at least 7,000. When German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began excavations in the 1990s, he uncovered massive T-shaped pillars weighing up to 20 tons, some standing over 15 feet tall, arranged in circular enclosures. What shocked the world was not just the age of the site, but the sophistication of its construction. According to conventional history, humans of that time were supposed to be primitive hunter-gatherers, barely experimenting with farming. Yet here they were, quarrying, carving, transporting, and erecting megaliths on a monumental scale, and decorating them with intricate reliefs of animals, abstract symbols, and mysterious humanoid forms. The discovery of Gobekli Tepe created a paradox. How could people without agriculture, cities, or metal tools organize the labor and expertise necessary to create such a complex site? The prevailing model of history holds that agriculture came first, leading to surplus food, which then enabled social stratification, specialization, and the construction of temples and monuments. But Gobekli Tepe turned that sequence upside down. It suggested that the act of building sacred sites may have come first, that human beings gathered in large groups for ritual and cosmological purposes, and that agriculture and permanent settlements arose later to support these gatherings. In other words, spirituality, myth, and architecture may have been the catalysts of civilization, not the byproducts. The site itself radiates mystery. Each enclosure contains towering pillars arranged in circles, with two central monoliths often interpreted as deities or ancestors. The carvings depict foxes, boars, snakes, vultures, scorpions, and abstract patterns whose meaning is still debated. Some scholars suggest the imagery represents a symbolic cosmos, a world where animals, humans, and spirits are deeply interconnected. Others propose that the carvings encode astronomical knowledge, perhaps mapping the stars, solstices, or even catastrophic events in the heavens. One controversial theory claims that certain motifs correspond to the constellation Sagittarius and may record a comet impact around 10,900 BCE, the very event believed to have triggered the Younger Dryas, a mini ice age that devastated early human societies. If true, Gobekli Tepe could be both a temple and a time capsule, a message carved in stone about a cataclysm that reshaped the world. What is equally puzzling is that Gobekli Tepe was not gradually abandoned like most ancient sites. It was deliberately buried. Around 8000 BCE, its enclosures were filled in with tons of earth and rubble, as though those who built it wanted to hide it or protect it from destruction. Why would they bury such a monumental complex after centuries of use? Was it an act of ritual closure, a cultural decision to move on? Or was it a deliberate attempt to preserve knowledge for future generations, a hidden archive encoded in megaliths, waiting to be rediscovered? In the context of the Megalith Code, this deliberate burial could be interpreted as an intentional safeguard, a way to ensure the survival of knowledge after catastrophe, much like myths and symbols preserve truths through allegory. Gobekli Tepe also raises the question of transmission. If this site represents the dawn of monumental architecture, where did the knowledge to design, align, and execute such construction come from? Was it developed independently by groups of hunter-gatherers suddenly taking a leap forward in social organization? Or did survivors of an earlier, more advanced culture, perhaps the very people remembered in flood myths and the legend of Atlantis, bring this knowledge into Anatolia after their own homelands were destroyed? Some researchers have suggested that the sudden appearance of advanced stoneworking techniques at Gobekli Tepe is evidence of cultural inheritance, a passing of the torch from a forgotten civilization to the world that came after. The connections to global myths cannot be overlooked. In Mesopotamian tradition, the first temples were gifts of the gods, built to restore order after the flood. In Egypt, the Tepe, the first time, was remembered as the era when divine kingship and cosmic order were re-established after chaos. In Native American and Mesoamerican lore, ancestral teachers emerged after great destruction to teach humanity agriculture, astronomy, and ritual. Gobekli Tepe sits right at the chronological and geographical crossroads of these myths, as though it is the bridge between a forgotten age and recorded history. Its builders, far from being isolated primitives, may have been participants in a global recovery, a collective attempt to restart civilization by encoding memory in stone. The sheer scale of Gobekli Tepe also suggests a level of social organization unexpected for its time. To carve and erect the massive pillars, thousands of people would have been needed, cooperating over long periods. This implies leadership, shared belief systems, and coordination. The site may have functioned as a gathering place, drawing people from across the region for rituals, feasts, and perhaps even astronomical observations. In this sense, it was more than a temple. It was a cultural magnet, a center of unity and knowledge sharing that shaped the trajectory of human society for millennia. Standing at Gobekli Tepe today, with its towering pillars rising out of the Anatolian landscape, one cannot help but feel the weight of its enigma. The carvings are silent but eloquent, speaking in a symbolic language we have only begun to decode. Was it a shrine to gods, a map of the cosmos, a library of stone, or a warning about events yet to come? Whatever its purpose, it shattered the conventional story of humanity's past and replaced it with something far more mysterious. It tells us that the roots of civilization may lie not in necessity but in vision, not in survival but in the desire to connect with forces greater than ourselves. In the framework of the Megalith Code, Gobekli Tepe emerges as a central node, a deliberate creation meant to transmit knowledge, preserve memory, and bridge the gap between myth and history. It stands as a reminder that humanity has always sought to encode truth in stone, not just as an expression of power but as a way to outlast time and catastrophe. And perhaps that is why it still speaks to us today, because within its circles and symbols, we sense the faint echo of a lost world, reaching across the millennia to remind us that history is not what we think it is. Deep in the Anatolian landscape, not far from Gobekli Tepe, archaeologists have uncovered another site that adds yet another twist to the story of humanity's forgotten past. This place is Karahan Tepe, often referred to as the sister site of Gobekli Tepe, though in many ways it may be even more enigmatic. Only recently excavated, Karahan Tepe reveals a level of sophistication that continues to challenge the conventional understanding of when and how civilization began. If Gobekli Tepe was the world's first known temple, Karahan Tepe suggests that it was not an isolated anomaly but part of a much larger network of sacred complexes stretching across southeastern Turkey. Together, these sites may represent a vast ceremonial landscape, deliberately constructed to encode knowledge, preserve memory, and shape the destiny of humanity. Karahan Tepe, like Gobekli, dates back to the pre-pottery Neolithic period, roughly 11,000 years ago. The site contains T-shaped pillars similar to those at Gobekli Tepe, some carved with reliefs of snakes, foxes, and other animals. Yet Karahan Tepe also introduces new features that are not seen at its more famous counterpart. Among the most striking is a chamber filled with more than 250 phallic-shaped pillars, arranged in tight formation. This peculiar design has sparked endless debate. Was it a fertility shrine, a symbolic representation of life force, or perhaps something more abstract, an encoded message about regeneration and cycles of time? The sheer strangeness of the chamber suggests a ritual purpose beyond our comprehension, one that reflects a worldview very different from the utilitarian needs of early farming communities. Equally puzzling is the presence of human heads carved directly into the bedrock at Karahan Tepe. One prominent example shows a life-sized human face with carefully carved eyes and a mouth, gazing out from a stone. This is unlike anything found at Gobekli Tepe and suggests that the builders of Karahan Tepe were experimenting with more personalized or anthropomorphic symbolism. Were these carvings meant to represent ancestors, deities, or guardians of sacred knowledge? Or were they part of a symbolic system designed to communicate across generations? In the context of the Megalith Code, these faces could be understood as part of a universal effort to personify the forces of creation and destruction, turning abstract concepts into forms that could be remembered, revered, and passed down. Karahan Tepe also offers tantalizing clues about the wider cultural landscape of the time. Its discovery confirmed that Gobekli Tepe was not a unique outlier but part of a broader Neolithic tradition in the region known as the Tars Tepala, literally, stone hills. Archaeologists now believe there may be at least a dozen similar sites scattered across southeastern Turkey, all dating back to the same era, all sharing monumental architecture and symbolic carvings. This raises a critical question. How did supposedly primitive hunter-gatherers, living without permanent settlements or complex tools, manage to organize such widespread and coordinated construction projects? The scale suggests that these were not random experiments but part of a deliberate cultural program, a system of sacred architecture designed to serve a larger purpose. When viewed in this light, Karahan Tepe and its sister sites could represent the infrastructure of a forgotten civilization, a network of ritual centers built not for survival but for connection, memory, and cosmology. These were not villages where people lived day to day. They were gathering places where humanity came together to celebrate, mourn, share knowledge, and align themselves with cosmic forces. In this sense, Karahan Tepe is not just an archaeological site but a node in a vast web of meaning, a place where myth and history meet in stone. The architecture of Karahan Tepe also suggests advanced planning. Many of the structures are carved directly into the bedrock, creating subterranean spaces that evoke womb-like enclosures. These underground chambers may have served as initiation sites, places where rituals of death and rebirth were enacted. Symbolically, to enter the earth is to enter the realm of the ancestors, the underworld, or the womb of creation itself. Emerging from such a chamber would then represent rebirth, a symbolic cycle that mirrors the cosmological themes seen across ancient cultures. This aligns perfectly with the idea of the Megalith Code, that ancient builders were encoding timeless truths about cycles, renewal, and the continuity of life. Some researchers believe the carvings at Karahan Tepe may also preserve astronomical knowledge, just as scholars have argued for Gobekli Tepe. The placement of pillars, the alignment of enclosures, and the motifs carved into stone may correspond to stars, constellations, or celestial events. If so, Karahan Tepe may represent humanity's first observatories, sites where the heavens were tracked not merely for practical survival but for ritual and mythological purposes. To encode the sky into stone was to create a permanent record of cosmic order, a way of ensuring that future generations could remember the cycles of time even after catastrophe. In the bigger picture, Karahan Tepe suggests that the builders of these Anatolian sites were part of something larger than themselves. They were participants in a cultural revolution that redefined what it meant to be human. By creating monumental architecture, they were expressing ideas that transcended survival. Ideas about order, chaos, fertility, death, and renewal. They were inscribing into stone the very principles that govern existence, leaving behind a code that could endure for millennia. And remarkably, they succeeded. Despite being buried for thousands of years, these sites still speak to us today, forcing us to confront the possibility that humanity's story is far older, richer, and more mysterious than we have been taught. To stand at Karahan Tepe today is to gaze into a deep abyss of time. The wind blows across the Anatolian hills, carrying whispers of rituals long forgotten. The stones remain silent, yet their silence is eloquent, hinting at truths too vast to be spoken. In the context of the Megalith Code, Karahan Tepe is more than a ruin, it is a cipher. It is proof that the earliest builders of monumental architecture were not primitive but visionary, encoding in stone the story of humanity's rebirth after catastrophe. Alongside Gobekli Tepe and the other Tars Tepler sites, it suggests that what we call the beginning of civilization was in fact a continuation, an inheritance from something older, deeper, and more profound. The question remains, who first conceived of this grand design? Were the builders of Karahan Tepe independently brilliant, or were they carrying forward the knowledge of survivors from a lost world? The answer may never be certain, but the stones themselves seem to point in a clear direction. They tell us that humanity has always sought to connect heaven and earth, to anchor memory in stone, and to ensure that even after destruction, the story continues. The deserts of Egypt hold some of the most iconic monuments ever created by human hands, yet even after centuries of study, the pyramids and their surrounding structures continue to provoke more questions than answers. At first glance, the Great Pyramid of Giza seems to be the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian engineering, a funerary monument designed to house the remains of Pharaoh Khufu. But when examined through the lens of the Megalith Code, the pyramid is more than just a tomb. Its proportions, alignments, and architectural precision suggest that it was constructed as part of a vast system of encoded knowledge, meant to endure through the ages as a testament to cosmic order and human potential. The deeper we look, the more it becomes clear that Egypt's megalithic wonders were not simply built to glorify kings, they were built to preserve something far greater. The Great Pyramid is aligned with astonishing accuracy to the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, with only a fraction of a degree of deviation. This kind of precision is difficult even with modern surveying tools, yet somehow the builders of 4,500 years ago achieved it. Even more remarkable is its relationship to the stars. Scholars have long noted that the pyramid's internal shafts appear to align with specific constellations, such as Orion's Belt and Sirius, both of which held immense significance in Egyptian cosmology. Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of death and resurrection, while Sirius was linked to Isis, the goddess of fertility and rebirth. Taken together, these alignments suggest that the pyramid was not merely a tomb but a cosmic machine, an architectural tool designed to mirror the heavens and perhaps even to guide the soul of the pharaoh into the afterlife. The mathematics of the pyramid add another layer of intrigue. The ratio of its perimeter to its height corresponds almost perfectly to 2 pi, suggesting that the builders encoded the relationship between a circle and a square into its design. This is no accident. It represents the unification of heaven, the circle, and earth, the square, an archetypal theme found throughout ancient traditions. Moreover, when the dimensions of the Great Pyramid are analyzed, they seem to incorporate not only pi but also the golden ratio, another fundamental constant of nature. Was this knowledge the product of Egyptian genius alone, or does it hint at a deeper inheritance, carried forward from an earlier, forgotten epoch of human history? Equally enigmatic is the age of the Sphinx, which sits nearby, gazing eternally toward the horizon. Mainstream Egyptology places its construction in the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2500 BCE. Yet geological studies of the erosion patterns on the Sphinx suggest that it may be far older, possibly predating dynastic Egypt by thousands of years. If true, this would indicate that the Sphinx belongs to a lost chapter of human history, one in which advanced builders left behind a colossal symbol of power and mystery. The Sphinx, half human and half lion, could be seen as a guardian of the code itself, a warning or a reminder, positioned to outlast empires and dynasties. Inside the pyramids, the mysteries only deepen. The so-called King's Chamber, constructed of massive granite blocks weighing up to 80 tons each, contains a precision and resonance that continues to puzzle engineers and acousticians. Some have suggested that the chamber was designed with acoustic properties in mind, capable of amplifying sound or vibration. Others believe that the combination of geometry, materials, and orientation might have served as a kind of energy device, whether symbolic, ritualistic, or functional remains unclear. Could it be that the pyramid was designed not simply as a tomb but as a resonant structure, harmonizing with natural frequencies of the earth and sky? If so, it represents an understanding of physics and engineering that seems out of place for its supposed time. The surrounding landscape reinforces the impression of a larger plan. The three pyramids of Giza are arranged in a pattern that mirrors the stars of Orion's belt, as if to anchor heaven to earth. The Nile River itself aligns with the Milky Way, further extending this celestial mirror. This is the essence of the Megalith Code, to create monuments that reflect cosmic order, embedding into stone the eternal relationships between earth, sky, and humanity. Such precision and intention suggest that the pyramids were never meant to be isolated monuments but part of a grand design that stretched across cultures and continents. Adding to the enigma are accounts from ancient historians like Herodotus, who wrote of secret chambers and mechanisms within the pyramids. Modern archaeology has confirmed that many passages and rooms remain unexplored, sealed off or hidden within the stone. In recent years, non-invasive scanning has revealed voids inside the Great Pyramid, large, unexplained spaces whose purpose remains unknown. Are these empty chambers, or could they hold yet undiscovered artifacts, texts, or even technologies from a forgotten era? The mere possibility continues to ignite speculation about what secrets might still lie within. The story of Egypt's megalithic enigmas is not confined to Giza. Sites like Abu Roash, Abu Sur, and Dashur also reveal pyramids and temples of astonishing complexity, many of which are in ruins yet still display evidence of advanced engineering techniques. At Abydos, the Osirian temple is built with cyclopean blocks that appear far older than the surrounding structures, raising the question of whether it too belongs to a forgotten epoch. Taken together, these sites suggest that Egypt's megalithic tradition was not a sudden innovation but part of a continuum of knowledge, perhaps inherited from a culture that had already mastered the principles of monumental construction. When placed alongside Gobekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, Egypt's monuments suggest a global tradition of sacred architecture, each site encoding similar themes of death, rebirth, cosmic order, and the union of heaven and earth. The pyramids are not an isolated marvel. They are a chapter in a larger book, written in stone, passed from one civilization to the next. The Megalith Code reveals itself not through a single site but through the shared language of geometry, astronomy, and myth that connects them all. To stand before the Great Pyramid today is to confront a riddle written in stone, a structure so massive and precise that it seems almost inhuman in its conception. Yet perhaps that is the point. The pyramid is not merely a monument to a pharaoh but a message to the future, a code left behind by those who understood that civilizations rise and fall but stone endures. Its message is clear: remember the heavens, remember the cycles, and remember that humanity's story is far older than we dare to admit. Beneath the sands of Egypt lies a world that most tourists, and even most textbooks, never mention. While the towering pyramids and colossal temples draw the eyes upward, the true secrets of ancient Egypt may lie hidden below the surface. The underground passages, tunnels, and chambers scattered across the Nile Valley suggest a forgotten dimension of the civilization's architecture, one that may hold the key to understanding the Megalith Code. These subterranean spaces have inspired legends for millennia, stories of hidden libraries, buried halls of records, and forbidden knowledge locked away to protect humanity from the dangers of its own past. As archaeologists probe deeper into Egypt's underworld, the discoveries both astonish and unsettle, hinting at truths that seem to challenge the conventional timeline of history. One of the most striking examples is the Osirian at Abydos, often called the temple beneath a temple. Situated behind the Temple of Seti I, the Osirian is an underground structure that looks radically different from the ornate, hieroglyph-covered temples of dynastic Egypt. Instead, it is composed of massive granite blocks, some weighing dozens of tons, arranged in a stark, cyclopean style that recalls megalithic traditions found in far older sites like Gobekli Tepe or Puma Punku in Bolivia. The chamber lies deep below ground level, with water often filling its floors, giving it the aura of a primordial underworld. Mainstream Egyptology claims it was constructed during the reign of Seti I in the 13th century BCE, yet its construction style is so drastically different, and seemingly more ancient, that many researchers argue it must predate dynastic Egypt by thousands of years. Could the Osirian represent an inheritance from a forgotten civilization, one that the Egyptians later built their own temples around? The symbolism of the Osirian is no less intriguing. Abydos itself was the cult center of Osiris, the god of death, resurrection, and the afterlife. To place a massive megalithic structure underground, beneath the temple dedicated to Osiris, seems deliberate. It evokes the mythic underworld where Osiris himself reigned, suggesting that the structure was designed as a symbolic portal between worlds, the realm of the living above and the realm of the gods below. The design may not have been functional in the everyday sense but initiatory, a place where rituals of death and rebirth were enacted. In the framework of the Megalith Code, this underground temple was not just an architectural curiosity but an encoded reminder that beneath the surface of life lies the hidden foundation of existence itself. But the Osirian is not the only example. Beneath the Giza Plateau, legends speak of vast networks of tunnels and chambers. Ancient texts describe the Hall of Records, said to be a library hidden under the Sphinx's paws, containing the wisdom of a lost age. While mainstream scholars dismiss these accounts as myth, modern scans using ground-penetrating radar have indeed detected anomalies beneath the Sphinx and the plateau, large voids that have yet to be fully explored. Some researchers suggest these could be natural cavities, but others argue they may be precisely the hidden chambers spoken of in ancient lore. If so, they could contain artifacts or texts that might rewrite our understanding of human history. The Serapeum at Saqqara adds another layer of mystery. This underground complex contains a long tunnel carved into bedrock, lined with massive granite sarcophagi weighing up to 70 tons each. Officially, they are said to have been built to house the sacred Apis bulls of Egyptian religion. Yet the sheer size, precision, and difficulty of moving these monoliths underground baffles modern engineers. The sarcophagi are so finely cut that even today they could only be reproduced with advanced tools. Were these truly designed for ritual burials of animals, or were they built for another, more enigmatic purpose? Some propose they were resonance chambers, energy storage devices, or part of a lost technology. Whatever their function, they demonstrate that Egypt's underground world was designed with as much care, and perhaps even more mystery, as its above-ground temples. These subterranean sites reinforce the idea that the Egyptians, or perhaps their unknown predecessors, viewed the underworld as essential to sacred architecture. Just as the pyramids aligned with the stars above, their underground chambers may have symbolized the unseen forces below, the chthonic powers, the cycles of death and rebirth, the hidden currents that underlie all existence. The Megalith Code, in this context, is a dual system. Above-ground monuments encode the heavens, while underground structures encode the depths. Together, they mirror the human condition, suspended between light and darkness, life and death, order and chaos. The persistence of legends about hidden chambers beneath Egypt's monuments cannot be ignored. From Herodotus to medieval Arab chroniclers, countless writers have spoken of secret tunnels connecting the pyramids, labyrinthine passageways filled with traps and treasures, and concealed libraries that hold the knowledge of the ancients. While archaeology has only scratched the surface, each new discovery seems to confirm that these tales may have roots in reality. The subterranean world of Egypt remains one of the least explored aspects of its archaeology, yet it may hold the answers to the greatest mysteries of all. Imagine, for a moment, what it would mean if a genuine hall of records were discovered beneath the Sphinx, a repository of texts or artifacts predating known civilization. It would not merely adjust our timeline of history, it would overturn it completely. It would confirm that the Egyptians inherited their knowledge from an earlier culture, one that had survived a cataclysm and sought to encode its wisdom in stone, both above and below the earth. It would validate the notion that the Megalith Code was not Egyptian alone but universal, part of a global effort to preserve knowledge through cycles of destruction and rebirth. Standing in the Osirian, surrounded by megaliths submerged in water, one feels the weight of this mystery. The air is heavy, the silence profound, as if the stones themselves are guarding secrets too dangerous, or too powerful, for the modern world to fully comprehend. These underground spaces remind us that Egypt's story is not complete, that much remains hidden in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Whether by accident or by design, the sands of time have preserved these enigmas for us, daring us to look deeper. Beyond the famous plateau of Giza, where the Great Pyramid dominates the skyline, Egypt's landscape is dotted with other pyramids that tell an even stranger story. These lesser-known monuments, scattered across Dasha, Abu Sir, Meidum, and beyond, reveal that pyramid building was not a straightforward evolution of architectural skill. Instead, it appears to be a record of experimentation, failure, and sudden bursts of genius. Among these structures are the Bent Pyramid, the Red Pyramid, the Black Pyramid, and the collapsed pyramid at Meidum. enigmatic creations that force us to reconsider what the ancient Egyptians truly knew and what they were trying to achieve. When viewed through the lens of the Megalith Code, these pyramids seem less like isolated experiments and more like steps in a hidden process, a coded attempt to replicate or preserve knowledge that was older than the civilization itself. Take the bent pyramid at Dasha, built during the reign of Pharaoh Sneferu. At first glance, its shape is striking. It begins with a steep angle of 54 degrees but then abruptly changes midway to a shallower 43 degrees, giving the structure its bent appearance. Mainstream explanations suggest that the change in angle was due to structural instability. Perhaps the builders realized the original slope was too steep and would cause the pyramid to collapse, so they corrected mid-construction. But this explanation, while logical, does not account for the precision with which the bend is executed. The transition is deliberate and symmetrical, suggesting forethought rather than mistake. Could it be that the bent pyramid was intentionally designed this way to embody duality, heaven and earth, ascent and descent, life and death? If so, then it may represent a symbolic attempt to encode balance into stone. Not far away stands the red pyramid, also attributed to Sneferu. Unlike the bent pyramid, this structure is perfectly symmetrical, with smooth faces and an angle of 43 degrees, the very angle chosen for the bent pyramid's upper half. Scholars argue that Sneferu applied lessons learned from the bent pyramid to achieve success in the red pyramid. Yet the red pyramid, towering at over 100 meters, is also a marvel of alignment and geometry, with passages leading to multiple chambers deep inside. Some researchers note that the pyramid's dimensions incorporate advanced mathematical ratios, once again pointing to knowledge beyond simple trial and error. Was Sneferu really experimenting, or was he trying to replicate a lost design inherited from an earlier age, a template he could only imperfectly reconstruct? The Black Pyramid at Dasha complicates the story further. Built centuries later during the reign of Amenemhat III, this structure has long since collapsed into a mound of rubble, yet its remains suggest it once had an entirely different appearance. Unlike the stone pyramids of earlier dynasties, the Black Pyramid was constructed primarily of mud brick, with a limestone casing. Inside, archaeologists found a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, some intended for queens as well as the king himself. Its collapsed state is often attributed to poor building materials, but its unusual design may also reflect a symbolic shift. The pyramid was once covered in polished limestone, which over time darkened due to oxidation, giving it a blackened appearance, possibly intentional, as black symbolized regeneration and rebirth in Egyptian cosmology. Could the Black Pyramid represent a different stage in the Megalith Code, where the focus shifted from geometry to symbolism, from precision engineering to ritual meaning? Then there is the collapsed pyramid at Meidum, often called the False Pyramid. Once attributed to Sneferu as well, it now lies in ruins, with only its core tower remaining. The outer casing collapsed in antiquity, leaving behind a strange, tower-like structure that seems out of place compared to the elegant pyramids of Giza. Some scholars see it as a failed experiment, but others argue that its collapse was intentional, that the structure was meant to embody ruin, death, and transformation. In mythological terms, its destruction could symbolize the impermanence of physical form, a reminder that only knowledge, encoded in stone, survives the cycles of time. Across Egypt, many of these pyramids show features that suggest unfinished or abandoned projects. The so-called pyramid fields reveal structures halted mid-construction, with foundations laid out but no completed monuments. This raises an important question. Why would so many pharaohs begin but not complete such massive projects? Was it simply political instability and resource scarcity? Or were the Egyptians struggling to replicate something they did not fully understand, something inherited from an earlier, more advanced tradition? Looking deeper, the alignment of these pyramids also hints at a greater plan. Dasha's pyramids, along with those at Giza, Abu Sir, and Saqqara, form a distribution across the Nile Valley that some researchers argue mirrors constellations, much like the Orion alignment of Giza. If so, then each pyramid was not just an isolated tomb but part of a massive landscape design, one that connected heaven and earth through sacred geometry. The bent pyramid and red pyramid, when paired, may have represented duality, the union of opposites. The Black Pyramid may have symbolized rebirth, and Giza's pyramids may have been the perfected culmination of these experiments, encoding the complete message of the Megalith Code. This idea, that the pyramids were not simply monuments but stages in a hidden process, offers a different perspective on Egyptian history. Rather than random experiments in stone, the progression from Meidum to Dasha to Giza may have been intentional, a sequence designed to preserve fragments of an older knowledge system. Each pyramid was a puzzle piece, contributing a part of the code: geometry, symbolism, alignment, myth. Taken together, they form a message not for their own time but for ours, a warning, a guide, a record of truths too important to be lost. Standing before the bent pyramid today, one can feel its strangeness. Its broken angles defy expectation, as if it were deliberately mocking the idea of perfection. Yet when the wind whistles across its ancient stones, it feels less like failure and more like a reminder that the path to knowledge is never straightforward. Perfection comes only after struggle, and meaning comes only after loss. In the Red Pyramid symmetry, the Black Pyramid's ruin, and Meidum's collapse, the Egyptians left us a story written in stone, a story of resilience, transformation, and rebirth. In this sense, these lesser-known pyramids may be just as important as Giza, for they reveal the process by which the code was preserved, generation after generation. When we weave these monuments into the larger fabric of the Megalith Code, they take on new significance. They are not simply relics of failed engineering but intentional stages of encoding, each expressing a facet of cosmic truth. The bent pyramid reminds us of balance, the red pyramid of perfection, the black pyramid of renewal, and Meidum of impermanence. Together, they whisper the same message, that human history is cyclical, that civilizations rise and fall, and that knowledge must be preserved in stone to survive the great forgetting. In the deserts of Egypt, scattered across quarries, temples, and half-finished monuments, lies some of the most perplexing evidence that challenges the official narrative of ancient history. Egyptologists maintain that the builders of pyramids and temples used copper chisels, dolerite pounders, and sheer manpower to carve and shape the massive granite and basalt blocks that make up their monuments. Yet when we examine the stones themselves, their cuts, their drill holes, their perfectly flat surfaces, it becomes difficult to reconcile this claim. The evidence suggests something far more advanced, as if the Egyptians, or those who came before them, possessed a knowledge of stoneworking technology that has since been lost. These anomalies form another critical layer of the Megalith Code, hinting at tools and techniques that were deliberately encoded into the monuments to send a message across time. Perhaps the most famous mystery of Egyptian stoneworking is the unfinished obelisk at Aswan. Still lying in its quarry, this massive block of granite would have stood nearly 42 meters tall and weighed over 1,000 tons, had it been completed. But a crack formed in the stone during carving, and the project was abandoned, leaving behind a monument frozen in time. To this day, no modern crane could lift such a massive object in a single piece, let alone transport it across the Nile and erect it upright. Yet the ancient builders intended to do just that. Even more puzzling are the tool marks left on the obelisk. The walls of the trench around it are smooth, almost as if scooped out by a giant machine rather than hammered by stone pounders. The precision and scale suggest the use of advanced cutting technology, possibly machines or methods beyond what we attribute to Bronze Age Egypt. Similar anomalies appear at other sites. In the Serapeum of Saqqara, massive granite sarcophagi weighing 70 to 100 tons each are tucked into subterranean chambers. Their interiors are polished to a mirror-like finish, with right angles so precise that they rival modern machining. Copper tools could never have achieved such results on hard granite, which requires diamond-tipped instruments to cut effectively even today. The official explanation, that countless workers, armed with patience and persistence, polish the granite by hand, feels inadequate when confronted with the sheer perfection of the results. These boxes were not just containers, they were works of engineering brilliance, their precision suggesting they had a functional purpose beyond symbolic burials. Some researchers propose they were resonance chambers, designed to interact with vibration or sound, a possibility that connects them to the broader theme of encoded knowledge. Then there are the enigmatic drill holes. At multiple sites, archaeologists have found evidence of core drilling in granite, where a cylindrical core of stone has been removed with remarkable precision. The spiral grooves on the cores suggest a drilling speed and pressure far greater than anything achievable with handheld tools. Modern engineers who have examined these cores state that they would require industrial-level equipment to replicate. Yet we are told they were made with copper tubes and sand as an abrasive. The problem is not only the hardness of granite but the consistency of the drilling. The spiral marks indicate feed rates of several millimeters per revolution, far beyond the capacity of primitive methods. It is as if the ancients possessed some form of mechanical drill powered by advanced energy, an idea that mainstream archaeology refuses to entertain but that the stones themselves seem to whisper. Even more astonishing are the massive blocks at places like the Valley Temple and the Temple of Osiris at Abydos. Some blocks weigh hundreds of tons, their surfaces perfectly flat and their joints so tight that a sheet of paper cannot fit between them. The precision suggests not only advanced cutting tools but also advanced measuring systems. Laser-like accuracy achieved thousands of years before lasers existed. At Abu Roash, another pyramid site, stones bear marks of what looks like saw cuts, as if enormous stone-cutting saws had sliced through them. The grooves left behind are strikingly similar to those made by modern mechanical saws. How could such technology exist in a culture officially still in the Copper Age? Mainstream scholars insist that human labor, patience, and ingenuity can explain these feats. And to some extent, human willpower is indeed extraordinary. But the anomalies are too consistent, too precise, too advanced to dismiss. They point to a lost knowledge of engineering and stoneworking, one that seems to surface in fragments throughout Egypt. In the context of the Megalith Code, this knowledge was not just practical but symbolic. It was encoded into the very stones themselves, showing future generations that the builders were capable of mastering forces of nature that we are only beginning to rediscover. What is striking is how this pattern repeats across the world. At Puma Punku in Bolivia, we see stone blocks cut with machine-like precision. At Baalbek in Lebanon, we find the massive trilithon stones weighing over 800 tons each, placed with impossible accuracy. In India, temples carved out of solid rock show the same mastery of stone as a medium. Egypt's anomalies are not isolated. They are part of a global tradition, a shared inheritance of lost technology that may have come from a civilization older than we imagine. The implications are staggering. If the Egyptians, or their predecessors, possessed such tools, where did they go? Why was this technology lost? Was it hidden, destroyed, or deliberately withheld to protect humanity from misusing it? Perhaps the Megalith Code is not only about preserving cosmology and myth but about leaving behind clues, puzzles for future civilizations to solve, so that knowledge can be rediscovered only when humanity is ready. To walk through Egypt's temples and quarries with this in mind is to feel the presence of something more than human determination. It is to sense a shadow of forgotten genius, a whisper of tools that could shape stone like clay and align monuments with the stars. The unfinished obelisk, the precision boxes, the mysterious drill holes, all of them are fragments of a greater story, a story that challenges the foundations of history itself. They suggest that our ancestors may not have been primitive at all but were custodians of an advanced knowledge that we have only begun to glimpse. And so the stones remain, silent yet eloquent, their tool marks and angles acting as a language, a code inscribed in granite and basalt, a code that says, "Look closer. You are not the first. You are part of a cycle." The lost stoneworking technology of ancient Egypt is more than an engineering puzzle. It is a key, pointing us toward a forgotten chapter of humanity's past and urging us to rediscover what has been hidden. Beneath the hot Egyptian sun, the Great Sphinx of Giza sits like an eternal guardian, its lion body and human face gazing endlessly toward the rising sun. To the casual visitor, it is simply another ancient monument among the wonders of the Giza Plateau. But for those who have studied it closely, the Sphinx is not merely a symbol of ancient Egyptian kingship, it is one of the most perplexing and controversial monuments in the entire world. Archaeologists tell us that the Sphinx was carved during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra, around 2500 BCE. Yet as with so many other megalithic mysteries, the evidence refuses to neatly fit the official timeline. The Sphinx is a paradox in stone, a riddle carved into the earth itself, and its secrets may hold another vital chapter of the Megalith Code. The first and most contentious anomaly is erosion. Geologist Dr. Robert Shark famously studied the weathering patterns on the Sphinx in the early 1990s and concluded that the monument shows signs of heavy water erosion that could only have occurred during a time when Egypt experienced prolonged rainfall. According to climatologists, the last time such rainfall existed in this region was between 7,000 and 10,000 years ago, long before dynastic Egypt supposedly began. If Shark is correct, the Sphinx predates the pyramids by thousands of years and was carved by a civilization lost to history. Mainstream Egyptologists reject this, attributing the weathering to wind and sand. But the patterns are undeniable: rounded, vertical channels cut deep into the limestone walls of the Sphinx enclosure, looking exactly like the effect of long-term rainfall. If the Sphinx is indeed older than we are told, then who built it? Some propose that it may have been carved by the same unknown culture that designed other megalithic sites across the world, those who encoded their knowledge into stone for future generations. The lion body of the Sphinx, in particular, has raised speculation. Ancient Egypt's worship of the lion is well documented, but the proportions of the Sphinx seem awkward, as though the head was recarved at a later date. Indeed, the head of the Sphinx appears disproportionately small for its massive body, leading some to argue that the original monument was not a human-headed sphinx at all but a lion, perhaps aligned with the constellation of Leo during the Age of Leo, around 10,500 BCE. This date intriguingly corresponds with other astronomical alignments on the Giza Plateau, suggesting that the builders of the Sphinx were encoding a message tied to the stars and cycles of time. Equally fascinating are the persistent legends of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. Ancient texts such as the Inventory Stela and later Arab historians like Al-Makrizi speak of secret halls, tunnels, and repositories buried beneath the pores of the Sphinx. In the 20th century, several teams of researchers, including the Stanford Research Institute and later Egyptian archaeologists, used ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys around the Sphinx. These scans revealed anomalies under the monument, rectangular voids that could be interpreted as chambers or tunnels. Yet to this day, official excavations have either not been permitted or their results remain unpublished. This secrecy fuels speculation that something extraordinary lies hidden. Beneath the Sphinx, perhaps the legendary Hall of Records, said to contain the lost knowledge of a forgotten civilization. Esoteric traditions, such as those of the Hermetic texts and Edgar Cayce's prophecies, have long maintained that beneath the Sphinx lies a library of ancient wisdom. Cayce, often called the Sleeping Prophet, predicted that a chamber beneath the Sphinx would one day be opened, revealing records of Atlantis and connecting Egypt's monuments to a much older and more global story. While mainstream scholars dismiss Cayce as mystical fantasy, the alignment between his claims and the seismic anomalies is difficult to ignore. Could the Megalith Code include not only messages carved into stone but entire archives hidden away, awaiting rediscovery when humanity is ready? Another detail often overlooked is the Sphinx's astronomical alignment. Facing due east, it greets the rising sun on the equinoxes, acting as a cosmic marker of time. If the body originally represented a lion, then its position relative to the stars during 10,500 BCE would have aligned it with the constellation of Leo rising in the dawn sky. The pyramids, meanwhile, would have aligned with the belt of Orion during the same era. This combination suggests that the entire Giza Plateau was designed as a celestial map, encoding the heavens in stone. The Sphinx, then, was not just a guardian of the pyramids. It was the anchor of a cosmic clock, linking the builder's knowledge of precession, time cycles, and the heavens. Skeptics argue that all these claims are speculative, that erosion can be explained by natural variations, that seismic anomalies are simply natural cavities in the rock, and that alignments are coincidences found by imaginative minds. Yet the cumulative weight of the anomalies suggests otherwise. Why does the head not match the body? Why do the erosion patterns match rainfall and not wind? Why do radar scans consistently reveal anomalies beneath the monument? Why is access to these possible chambers so restricted? These unanswered questions fuel a growing suspicion that the Sphinx holds secrets that could redefine our understanding of history. To view the Sphinx in this light is to see it not merely as a monument but as a message. The riddle of the Sphinx in Greek mythology was about knowledge and wisdom hidden in plain sight, a challenge to those who would seek the truth. Perhaps the monument itself embodies this riddle. It is an enigma carved in limestone, daring us to question the official story, to look deeper, to recognize that what we call history is only a fraction of a much older human saga. When standing before the Sphinx, one cannot help but feel that it is watching, waiting. Its eroded body speaks of floods and rains long forgotten. Its head whispers of recarving and reinterpretation. Its paws guard secrets buried in chambers that may hold the key to lost civilizations. In the grand narrative of the Megalith Code, the Sphinx is not just another monument. It is a linchpin, a marker that tells us there is more, much more, waiting beneath the sands of time. The Sphinx is silent, but in its silence, it shouts across millennia, "You have forgotten. Remember." The riddle it presents is not just about the past but about us, our willingness to question, to seek, and to uncover what has been hidden. It is a challenge, an invitation, and perhaps a warning, all carved into the eternal stone of Giza. High in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon lies one of the most astonishing and least understood megalithic sites in the world, Baalbek. At first glance, much of Baalbek looks like the ruins of a grand Roman temple complex, with towering Corinthian columns, intricate carvings, and monumental stone foundations. And indeed, the Romans did build extensively here, dedicating the site to Jupiter and other deities. But beneath the Roman veneer lies something far older, stranger, and infinitely more mysterious. Hidden in plain sight is a set of stones so massive, so beyond comprehension, that they defy explanation even by today's technological standards. The megaliths of Baalbek may represent one of the clearest and most dramatic chapters of the Megalith Code, an encoded message left by builders who knew we would one day stand in awe of their impossible achievements. The most famous of these stones are known as the trilithon, 3 gargantuan blocks forming part of the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. Each of these stones weighs an estimated 800 tons or more, measuring roughly 20 meters in length, 4 meters in height, and 3 meters in width. They are not simply lying in the ground. They are precisely placed, perfectly aligned, and fitted together with astonishing accuracy. Above them lie smaller, though still massive, stones weighing hundreds of tons, stacked as if the laws of gravity had been temporarily suspended. Even more baffling is the fact that these megaliths are raised several meters above ground level, meaning they had to be lifted and maneuvered into place. To this day, no modern crane on Earth could lift such stones intact, especially in the way they have been positioned at Baalbek. The Romans, often credited with the site, were master builders and engineers, capable of extraordinary feats. But even they had limits. The Roman historian Josephus described Baalbek as already ancient in his time, hinting that the site predated the empire's expansion. Many researchers believe the Romans built upon a much older foundation, inheriting and repurposing the site rather than constructing it entirely from scratch. This theory is reinforced by the stark contrast between the rough megalithic foundation stones and the more refined Roman masonry built atop them. It is as though two different civilizations, separated by vast spans of time, worked at the same site, one building with impossible megaliths, the other with conventional but impressive architecture. Just outside the main complex lies another enigma, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This colossal block of limestone, still attached to its quarry bed, measures nearly 21 meters long and is estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons. Incredibly, in 2014, archaeologists discovered an even larger block beneath it, buried in the same quarry, estimated at over 1,600 tons, the largest work stone in the ancient world. The sheer scale of these stones begs the question, why would ancient builders attempt to carve, move, and position stones of such inconceivable size? Smaller blocks would have been far more practical. The decision to use stones of this magnitude suggests either a symbolic purpose or access to a technology capable of handling such weights with ease. This question ties directly into the broader narrative of the Megalith Code. Around the world, ancient sites share this tendency toward massive stone construction. At Giza, we find blocks weighing dozens of tons. At Sacsayhuaman in Peru, we encounter polygonal stones locked together like a puzzle, some weighing over 100 tons. At Baalbek, however, the scale surpasses all others, as if the builders were leaving a deliberate message. Look upon these stones, and know we possess knowledge and power beyond your comprehension. The sheer impracticality of the megaliths makes sense only if they were intended to serve as an indestructible marker of lost wisdom, a physical riddle carved into stone. How were these stones moved? Mainstream explanations rely on the use of rollers, sledges, and massive amounts of manpower. But the logistics quickly fall apart. Even if thousands of men pulled the stones on sledges, the friction alone would have made movement nearly impossible. The ground beneath would have collapsed under the immense weight. The precise placement of the stones, some elevated several meters above the ground, further complicates the theory. Engineers and stonemasons who have studied the site often admit that the methods required to maneuver stones of this scale remain beyond even modern capabilities. The only conclusion left is that either the ancients possessed some lost technology, possibly involving vibration, sound, or anti-gravity, or they inherited the stones from a civilization whose knowledge has vanished. The cultural and mythological associations of Baalbek deepen the mystery. Ancient traditions describe Baalbek as the landing place of the gods. In Mesopotamian and Levantine lore, it was linked to Baal, the storm god, and other deities who descended from the heavens. Some later Arab legends even connected it to King Solomon, claiming he used jinn or supernatural beings to construct the site. These myths, often dismissed as folklore, may actually encode faint memories of the site's true builders, beings or cultures so advanced that their feats seem divine to later civilizations. Could Baalbek have been one of the stargates or sacred energy centers where the ancients sought to connect with cosmic forces? Even the orientation of Baalbek carries significance. Some researchers note its alignment with celestial bodies, suggesting that, like Giza, Stonehenge, and other megalithic sites, it was part of a global network of sacred architecture linked to the heavens. If true, then Baalbek was more than just a temple platform. It was a node in a planetary system of encoded knowledge, designed to preserve and transmit understanding of cosmic cycles, Earth's energies, and humanity's place in the universe. Skeptics argue that the mysteries of Baalbek are exaggerated, that ancient ingenuity and sheer manpower could explain even the largest stones. But this argument falters when confronted with the physics. The logistics of moving a 1,000-ton block over uneven ground, lifting it several meters, and aligning it with surgical precision remain unsolved. Engineers today admit they would struggle to replicate such feats without heavy-duty machinery. And yet, here they stand, enduring thousands of years, silent but eloquent in their defiance of our limited explanations. Baalbek, then, is more than an archaeological curiosity. It is a bold statement, a defiant chapter of the Megalith Code carved into the mountains of Lebanon. It tells us that someone, long before the Romans, mastered the impossible and left behind a riddle of stone. The trilithon and its colossal companions stand as an eternal question mark. Who built them? How? And most importantly, why? When we place Baalbek in the context of global megalithic sites, the pattern becomes undeniable. The same mystery runs through Egypt, Peru, Bolivia, and beyond. Precision, scale, and astronomical alignment beyond what should have been possible. Baalbek amplifies this mystery to its greatest extreme, daring us to look deeper. It is not just a ruin, it is a revelation, a megalithic proclamation that our ancestors were far more advanced than history books allow. In the grand puzzle of human history, Baalbek is not just another stone, it is a cipher. A cipher written in blocks too massive to ignore, too perfect to explain, and too enduring to dismiss. It stands as a beacon of forgotten knowledge, a reminder that the truth of our past is far more mysterious, far more astonishing, and perhaps far more unsettling than we dare to admit. High in the Bolivian Andes, on the windswept plains near Lake Titicaca, lies one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the world, Puma Punku. Unlike other ruins that bear the marks of gradual decay, Puma Punku looks as if it was destroyed in a cataclysm, its massive stone blocks scattered like the remnants of some long-forgotten technological facility. To the untrained eye, the site may seem like a jumble of rubble. But to those who study its details, Puma Punku is a revelation. Here, at an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters, the ancients achieved feats of stoneworking so precise that they appear indistinguishable from modern machine fabrication. It is as if the builders were encoding, in stone, undeniable evidence of their mastery, another chapter of the Megalith Code. The most iconic feature of Puma Punku is its finely cut andesite and red sandstone blocks, many weighing 40 to 100 tons. These stones are not rough-hewn, they are carved with razor-like precision, featuring sharp edges, straight cuts, and perfectly drilled holes. Some blocks fit together with such accuracy that a human hair could not be inserted between them. The famous H-shaped blocks, scattered across the site, show an astonishing level of uniformity and standardization, as if they were prefabricated components of some grand architectural system. Each H-block is nearly identical, suggesting not only advanced measuring tools but also mass production techniques, concepts utterly foreign to the Stone Age cultures we are told built this site. Equally puzzling are the drill holes and inset cuts carved into the stones. Many holes are perfectly round, as though made with high-speed rotary drills. Others are countersunk, suggesting tools designed for mechanical fastening or interlocking parts. Some blocks contain channels and grooves that look like tracks for sliding components, as if the stones were designed to function as part of a complex machine or modular system. Modern engineers and stonemasons who have examined the site admit that reproducing such cuts today would require diamond-tipped saws, high-speed grinders, or CNC machinery. Yet Puma Punku is dated by mainstream archaeology to around 500 CE, attributed to the Tiwanaku culture, who, according to Orthodox history, had no writing system, no advanced tools, and no knowledge of metal beyond bronze. How, then, could they have produced such perfection? Adding to the mystery is the transportation problem. The largest blocks at Puma Punku weigh over 130 tons and were quarried miles away. To move them across rugged terrain, up steep inclines, and into place would require either massive amounts of labor or advanced methods of lifting and transportation. Yet at 12,800 feet above sea level, where the air is thin and resources scarce, the logistical challenge becomes almost insurmountable. The Tiwanaku people could not have used wheels or draft animals, as neither were available in the Andes at that time. The sheer impossibility of the task raises the same question asked at Baalbek, Giza, and other megalithic sites. Did the builders possess a lost technology, perhaps some understanding of anti-gravity, sound levitation, or advanced engineering, that allowed them to manipulate stone as if it were weightless? Even the layout of Puma Punku contributes to its mystery. The site seems to have been designed with a specific plan in mind, with blocks aligned to cardinal directions and architectural symmetry suggesting a deeper symbolic or functional purpose. Some researchers argue that Puma Punku was part of a larger complex connected to Tiwanaku, serving as a ceremonial or ritual center. Yet the precision of the stonework suggests something more than ritual. Could this site have been an ancient power center, a place where energy was harnessed, stored, or transmitted? The interlocking blocks and channels hint at a kind of engineering that transcends mere ceremonial construction. Mythology deepens the enigma. According to Andean legends, Puma Punku was not built by ordinary humans but by the gods themselves. Local traditions speak of Viracocha, the great creator deity, who emerged from Lake Titicaca and commanded the construction of the site. The legends say the stones moved into place by themselves, as if animated by divine power. Such accounts may be mythologized memories of an advanced culture whose technology appeared godlike to later generations. If true, Puma Punku was not only a sacred place but also a deliberate monument encoding the knowledge of the gods for future humanity to discover. Archaeologists often dismiss these anomalies, suggesting that the stones were cut using simple tools and abrasive sand, and that their precision is exaggerated by alternative researchers. But anyone who has walked among the ruins and examined the stones firsthand knows that the orthodox explanation fails to capture the reality. The precision is too exact, the uniformity too consistent, the engineering too advanced. Puma Punku is not the work of a primitive society. It is the work of master builders operating at a level that rivals, and in some ways exceeds, our own. What makes Puma Punku particularly significant in the context of the Megalith Code is that it cannot be explained away as a happy accident of erosion, weathering, or coincidence. Its precision is intentional, deliberate, undeniable. The blocks bear the unmistakable fingerprints of advanced tools and methods. The site forces us to confront the possibility that a civilization, now lost to time, had mastered techniques that we are only rediscovering. Seen this way, Puma Punku becomes more than ruins. It is a message carved into the high Andes, a proclamation that the story of humanity is far older and more complex than textbooks admit. It tells us that advanced knowledge existed long before the rise of Rome, Greece, or even Egypt. It whispers of a global network of megalithic builders who shared the same code, the same obsession with precision, and the same drive to leave behind a legacy that could survive the ages. Standing among the shattered blocks of Puma Punku, one feels both awe and unease. Awe at the brilliance of the builders, unease at the realization that we have forgotten what they once knew. If this is part of the Megalith Code, then its message is clear. We mastered stone, we aligned with the stars, we encoded the truth in monuments that would outlast empires. Remember us. Puma Punku is not just an Andean ruin, it is one of the clearest signals of a lost chapter in human history, one written not in words but in the language of precision, weight, and stone. And it waits, silently, for us to rediscover its meaning. On the rolling plains of Salisbury in southern England rises one of the most iconic monuments of antiquity, Stonehenge. To most, it is a circle of weathered stones, a tourist attraction, or an image from history textbooks. Yet beneath its seemingly simple appearance lies a mystery that has baffled archaeologists, astronomers, and seekers of truth for centuries. Who built it? Why? And how did people, living over 4,000 years ago, manage to transport and erect stones weighing up to 40 tons with such deliberate precision? Stonehenge, like Giza, Baalbek, and Puma Punku, is more than a construction. It is a riddle, a key piece of the Megalith Code. It encodes astronomical knowledge, acoustic properties, and perhaps even hidden energy principles, linking it to a global tradition of megalithic engineering. The first striking feature of Stonehenge is its astronomical alignment. On the summer solstice, the rising sun appears over the heel stone, casting its rays into the heart of the circle. On the winter solstice, the setting sun aligns perfectly with the central axis. This shows that the builders possessed not only a deep understanding of the solar cycle but also the ability to encode this knowledge in architecture. Stonehenge was not simply a place of ritual, it was a cosmic clock, a calendar in stone that tracked the turning of the heavens. Recent research suggests that its design could also predict eclipses and other celestial events. If true, then Stonehenge was an observatory as well as a temple, a fusion of science and spirituality long before such categories existed. The origins of its stones deepen the puzzle. The smaller bluestones were transported from the Preseli Hills in Wales, nearly 150 miles away. The larger sarsen stones, weighing 25 to 40 tons each, were dragged from quarries about 20 miles away. To move and position these colossal stones without the wheel, without iron tools, and without modern machinery remains one of the great logistical mysteries of prehistory. Some researchers suggest the builders used sledges, rollers, and rafts along rivers, but the sheer difficulty of the task leads others to speculate about lost techniques, perhaps even involving levitation or sound-based technologies that could reduce the weight of the stones. As with Baalbek and Puma Punku, the very impracticality of the construction suggests that Stonehenge was designed not only to function but also to astonish. Encoding the message, we knew how to master the impossible. Stonehenge's acoustics add another layer to the mystery. Studies show that the circle's arrangement amplifies sound, creating powerful resonance effects. Some researchers suggest it functioned as an ancient amphitheater or even a healing temple, where sound and vibration played central roles in rituals. In many traditions around the world, sound is not merely symbolic but practical, a force that can shape matter and consciousness alike. Could Stonehenge have been designed as a resonance chamber, where chants, drums, or instruments activated the stones and interacted with the energy of the site? If so, then the builders were not only astronomers and engineers but also acousticians, masters of a knowledge that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. Adding to its enigmatic nature are the many structures surrounding Stonehenge. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys revealed hidden pits, ditches, and smaller monuments in a vast ritual landscape extending for miles. Stonehenge was not an isolated circle of stones. It was the centerpiece of a massive ceremonial complex, including avenues aligned with solstices and processional routes connecting to the River Avon. This broader context suggests Stonehenge was part of a sacred network, where architecture, landscape, and cosmos were unified in a single vision. It was not just a place, it was a statement, a cosmic temple written on the earth itself. Legends echo this sense of mystery. Medieval stories claimed that Merlin, the wizard of Arthurian lore, transported the stones with magical power. Others said giants brought them from a distant land. While modern scholars dismiss such tales as myth, they may encode faint memories of extraordinary techniques used by the builders, methods so advanced they seemed magical to later generations. In this way, the myths, like the stones, become part of the code, clues left behind in story and symbol, reminding us that the truth may be stranger than we dare imagine. Mainstream archaeology explains Stonehenge as a ceremonial and burial site used by Neolithic peoples for religious rituals and ancestor worship. While this is undoubtedly true in part, such explanations often reduce the monument to the level of the ordinary. What they fail to address is the precision of its alignments, the audacity of its construction, and the broader pattern it shares with megalithic sites around the world. Why do so many ancient cultures, from the Andes to the Nile to the British Isles, share the same obsession with massive stones, celestial alignments, and resonance? This is not coincidence. It is a pattern, a signature, a global code. Stonehenge fits seamlessly into this larger puzzle. It may not boast blocks as massive as Baalbek or cuts as precise as Puma Punku, but its purpose is clear: to embody in stone the rhythms of the heavens and the hidden forces of sound and energy. It demonstrates that its builders understood cycles of time, resonance, and the unity of earth and sky. It is another expression of the same ancient impulse that gave us the pyramids, the Sphinx, and countless other megaliths, a deliberate attempt to preserve forbidden knowledge in monuments that could withstand millennia. To stand within the circle at dawn, as the first rays of the solstice sun pierce through the stones, is to feel a connection to something timeless. It is to sense that the builders were reaching across ages, encoding their wisdom in stone so that we, thousands of years later, might rediscover it. Stonehenge is not just a monument, it is a message carved into the landscape of Britain, whispering that humanity's story is far older, far deeper, and far more mysterious than the official narrative allows. In the grand sweep of the Megalith Code, Stonehenge serves as both a mirror and a beacon. A mirror reflecting humanity's forgotten genius, and a beacon reminding us to seek the knowledge that has been hidden, buried, and dismissed. It tells us that we once looked to the stars not only with wonder but with understanding, and that perhaps, one day, we will again. On the remote volcanic island of Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island, stand the enigmatic moai, monolithic statues whose silent stares have fascinated explorers, historians, and researchers for centuries. Carved from volcanic tuff between the 10th and 16th centuries, these statues range in height from 10 to 33 feet, with some weighing more than 80 tons. Yet it is not just their size that is astonishing. It is the mystery of their transport, placement, and potential astronomical significance that continues to challenge our understanding of pre-modern societies. The moai are scattered across the island, many perched on massive stone platforms called ahu, oriented inland to watch over the villages. Their placement, orientation, and construction hint at a society that understood geometry, astronomy, and possibly encoded knowledge, making them an essential chapter in the unfolding story of the Megalith Code. The first question that strikes every visitor is how the Rapa Nui people moved these massive statues across the island, often from quarries miles away to their final resting places. The conventional explanation suggests the use of rollers, ropes, and brute force. However, some moai were transported over rough terrain, up steep slopes, and across valleys, with no evidence of wheels or draft animals. Experiments attempting to replicate these feats with modern tools have shown it is possible, but extremely challenging. Other researchers have proposed an alternative theory, known as the walking method, in which the statues were rocked forward in a controlled motion using ropes, a technique that aligns eerily well with local oral traditions claiming the statues walked to their platforms. Whatever method was used, it demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of leverage, balance, and physics, highlighting knowledge far beyond what is typically attributed to the islanders. Beyond transport, the construction of the moai themselves is remarkable. Each statue's features, from elongated noses to pronounced chins and heavy brows, are carved with extraordinary precision, often with little to no symmetry errors. Some statues bear intricate carvings on the back, including symbols, lines, and indentations whose meanings remain unclear. These markings suggest that the statues were more than ceremonial objects. They may have encoded information, possibly astronomical or ritualistic in nature. Indeed, the alignment of the Ahu platforms themselves indicates a deliberate understanding of the sun, moon, and stars. Some platforms appear to be oriented toward solstices, while others may align with lunar cycles or specific star constellations. This points to a society deeply engaged with celestial mechanics, a society that encoded astronomical knowledge in stone for both practical and spiritual purposes. The quarry at Rano Raraku further deepens the mystery. Here, hundreds of partially completed moai remain, frozen mid-carving, offering tantalizing clues about ancient techniques. Many unfinished statues have fallen forward in the quarry, suggesting they were intentionally detached from the rock in stages. Tool marks indicate the use of stone picks, but the precision achieved is remarkable. Holes for eyes and other features were meticulously planned, showing a high degree of foresight and architectural understanding. Some researchers speculate that the statues were carved in such a way as to encode numerical, astronomical, or even cosmological data. The placement of statues, both completed and abandoned, forms a pattern across the island, hinting at a broader design whose purpose remains elusive. Oral traditions of the Rapa Nui add another layer to the mystery. Stories passed down for centuries describe a time when the statues walked to their platforms, animated by the mana, or spiritual energy, of the islanders. While these tales may be mythologized, they could encode memories of advanced techniques or symbolic truths, linking the moai not just to the physical world but to spiritual and cosmic knowledge. The concept of mana itself resonates with similar traditions worldwide, where megalithic structures were believed to channel unseen forces, align with celestial energies, or preserve sacred knowledge for future generations. In this context, the moai are not merely statues. They are vessels of encoded wisdom, monuments designed to survive centuries and convey a message across time. The astronomical significance of the moai and their platforms cannot be overlooked. Some researchers, using modern tools, have mapped the island and discovered alignments with the equinoxes, solstices, and other celestial events. These alignments suggest that Rapa Nui functioned not only as a ceremonial and ritual space but also as an observational center, allowing the inhabitants to track time, seasons, and perhaps even eclipses. In a way, the island itself becomes a cosmic calendar, a living monument integrating architecture, astronomy, and human ingenuity. Such integration reinforces the idea that megalithic cultures across the world, whether in Egypt, Britain, the Andes, or the Pacific, shared a deep understanding of cosmic cycles and the ability to encode them in stone. The mystery of Rapa Nui is amplified by the island's isolation. Thousands of miles from the nearest continent, the development of such sophisticated construction and astronomical knowledge seems improbable by conventional historical accounts. Yet here it stands, a testament to human ingenuity, determination, and perhaps the inheritance of ancient knowledge passed down from an earlier, forgotten tradition. The moai are silent, yet they speak volumes about astronomy, engineering, and the cultural importance of preserving knowledge in durable stone. Seen in the context of the Megalith Code, the moai are another crucial piece of a global puzzle. They demonstrate that advanced construction, precise alignment, and symbolic encoding were not limited to one region or civilization. From Giza to Baalbek to Puma Punku and Stonehenge, the world is dotted with monuments that share common principles: astronomical awareness, mathematical precision, and a desire to leave knowledge indelibly inscribed in stone. Easter Island adds a remote and striking example of this same pattern, proving that no corner of the ancient world was untouched by the impulse to encode cosmic knowledge. Standing on the slopes of Rano Roroku, gazing at the silent rows of moai, one cannot help but feel a connection to those who came before, a connection across time, space, and culture. The statue's stairs, facing inland, seem to watch over a secret, a story encoded not only in their massive forms but in the landscape itself. The message is unmistakable. Knowledge is to be preserved, aligned with the heavens, and passed down to those willing to seek it. The moai are more than statues. They are messengers, guardians of a code written in stone, waiting for us to decipher it. Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca lines form one of the most mysterious and visually stunning archaeological enigmas in the world. First documented from the air in the 1920s, these enormous geoglyphs include hundreds of figures, ranging from simple lines and geometric shapes to intricate depictions of animals, birds, and even humanoid forms, etched into the desert floor. What makes them extraordinary is not only their scale, some spanning hundreds of feet, but also their precision and enduring visibility, despite thousands of years of wind, rain, and shifting sands. Viewed from the ground, their purpose is almost impossible to discern. From the air, a hidden language emerges. Scholars have debated for decades whether the Nazca lines were purely ceremonial, astronomical markers, or a coded form of communication, and in the context of the Megalith Code, they may well be the most literal message in stone the ancient world has ever left for us to decipher. One of the most striking aspects of the Nazca lines is their apparent astronomical alignment. Researchers such as Maria Reich, who dedicated her life to studying the site, suggested that many lines correspond to the positions of the sun, moon, and certain stars at solstices or equinoxes. Some geometric patterns point toward distant mountains that could have been observation points or markers for celestial events. The lines may have acted as a calendar, allowing the Nazca people to track seasonal changes critical for agriculture, especially in an environment as harsh and dry as the Peruvian desert. This precise knowledge of celestial mechanics mirrors similar alignments found at Stonehenge, Giza, and Chichen Itza, hinting at a universal understanding of the heavens by disparate ancient cultures. Beyond astronomy, the scale and precision of the lines themselves are staggering. Some shapes, like the famous hummingbird, condor, or monkey, stretch hundreds of feet across the desert. The lines were created by removing reddish-brown pebbles from the surface to reveal the lighter ground beneath. Despite the apparent simplicity of the method, achieving such geometrical perfection on this scale, without aerial perspective, remains a puzzle. Scholars have proposed various theories, including the use of wooden stakes and ropes to maintain straight lines and proportions. Yet even with these methods, the sheer number and diversity of the geoglyphs suggest a deliberate and highly sophisticated system of planning, coordination, and execution. It is as though the Nazca people were transmitting a message intended to be read from above, a message for beings or observers who could understand its full scope, whether divine, extraterrestrial, or symbolic. The variety of figures adds another layer of complexity. Some researchers argue that the animal and humanoid shapes served as ritual symbols, connecting the Nazca people to natural and spiritual forces. Others suggest that the lines represent constellations, star maps, or even astronomical phenomena like eclipses and planetary alignments. The recurring patterns across the desert, lines, trapezoids, spirals, could be symbolic keys, each encoding specific knowledge about the cosmos, the environment, or human life. This echoes a recurring motif in the Megalith Code, that ancient civilizations encoded hidden information into their monuments and landscapes, leaving behind puzzles for future generations to decipher. Equally intriguing are the apparent connections between the Nazca lines and water. Some geoglyphs seem to indicate subterranean water sources or aquifers, leading scholars to propose that the lines functioned as sacred maps of life-giving water. In a desert environment where survival depended on the precise management of scarce resources, encoding such information in durable geoglyphs would have been a logical, though highly sophisticated, strategy. The combination of astronomical, symbolic, and practical knowledge embedded in the lines suggests a culture deeply attuned to both the heavens and the earth, capable of merging science, spirituality, and survival into a single monumental statement. Theories about the creation of the lines range from the plausible to the speculative. Mainstream archaeology credits the Nazca culture, flourishing between 200 BCE and 600 CE, with their construction, using simple tools and keen observation. Alternative researchers, however, point to the precision, scale, and global connections of megalithic sites as evidence of a lost or shared knowledge. Could the Nazca lines be part of a worldwide network of encoded monuments, each revealing fragments of the same universal understanding of the stars, mathematics, and sacred geometry? The striking parallels between Nazca, Stonehenge, the pyramids, and Puma Punku suggest that these were not isolated achievements but rather expressions of a shared human quest to connect with the cosmos. Adding to the intrigue is the possibility that the Nazca lines were intended for aerial observation. While we often assume that flight is a modern invention, it is conceivable that these lines were designed to communicate with higher realms, whether spiritual, symbolic, or even literal. The precision of the figures, some only fully visible from a great height, implies an understanding of perspective, scale, and patterning that is extraordinary for their time. In this sense, the lines function as both art and code, a combination of visual splendor and hidden meaning designed to endure for millennia. Ultimately, the Nazca lines are a testament to human ingenuity, foresight, and reverence for both the cosmos and the earth. They invite us to reconsider what ancient peoples were capable of and to acknowledge that the story of human history may be far more sophisticated, interconnected, and mysterious than conventional accounts allow. In the grand mosaic of the Megalith Code, Nazca occupies a crucial place, linking the deserts of Peru to the plains of Britain, the Andes, and the deserts of Egypt. It is a message in stone and earth, a riddle written across the landscape, waiting for us to understand its language. Walking among the geoglyphs, even at ground level, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and wonder. The shapes, lines, and patterns are more than art. They are a silent testimony to knowledge that transcends time, a warning and an invitation from the ancients to rediscover the wisdom they encoded for future generations. The Nazca lines are not just a mystery. They are a key, a chapter, and a message in the ongoing narrative of the Megalith Code, linking humanity across continents, centuries, and the stars themselves. Off the coast of Yonaguni, a small island in southern Japan, lies one of the most controversial and mysterious underwater archaeological sites in the world. First discovered in 1986 by local diver Kiichiro Aratake, the Yonaguni monument consists of massive submerged stone formations that resemble terraces, steps, platforms, and even pyramid-like structures. At depths of 5 to 25 meters, these formations are carved from solid sandstone and extend over an area of nearly a square kilometer. While some scientists argue that they are natural geological formations, the precise angles, right-angled edges, and apparent carvings suggest deliberate construction. If Yonaguni is indeed man-made, it could be evidence of a lost civilization that predates known history, potentially rewriting our understanding of human development and adding a critical piece to the Megalith Code. The most striking feature of Yonaguni is its architectural precision. The formations include terraces that descend in perfect steps, flat surfaces that are unnaturally smooth, and pillars that rise vertically with astonishing uniformity. One of the most debated sections, known as the stage, resembles an amphitheater or ceremonial platform, while another formation, called the square, appears to be a large plaza or gathering area. Even more intriguing are what some researchers identify as carvings of roads, channels, and circular holes, which could have been used for water drainage or structural purposes. Such precision, especially given the hardness of the sandstone and the scale of the structures, strongly suggests intelligent design rather than natural erosion alone. Supporters of the artificial theory point to the monument's geometric patterns. Many blocks form right angles, some measuring almost perfectly 90 degrees. Terraces are evenly spaced, and steps descend with consistent height and width, features that are exceedingly rare in natural formations. Additionally, there are formations resembling walls, ramps, and platforms arranged in a pattern that hints at planning and purpose. Skeptics often claim that natural tectonic activity and erosion could produce similar shapes, yet the statistical improbability of such uniformity and alignment makes coincidence unlikely. The possibility that these structures were created by an advanced, yet forgotten, human culture forces us to reconsider the timeline of technological development in East Asia and beyond. Another point of fascination is the potential age of the site. Some estimates, based on geological analysis and sea level changes, suggest that Yonaguni could date back 10,000 to 12,000 years, placing it in the period following the last ice age. At that time, sea levels were significantly lower, meaning that the structures would have originally been above water. This aligns with theories that a sophisticated civilization existed during the prehistoric era, long before the rise of Sumer, Egypt, or the Indus Valley. If correct, Yonaguni could represent a direct connection to the global network of ancient builders whose legacy appears at Baalbek, Giza, Pumapunku, and Stonehenge, a civilization capable of monumental construction, urban planning, and advanced engineering tens of thousands of years ago. The underwater environment adds another layer of complexity. Over millennia, earthquakes, tsunamis, and rising seas have submerged the site, preserving its enigmatic formations beneath layers of marine growth. Divers report walls and terraces that appear unnaturally sharp, channels that suggest human modification, and surfaces that seem to have been deliberately smoothed. Some carvings even resemble humanoid or animal forms, hinting at symbolic or ritual purposes. While nature undoubtedly contributed to the current appearance, the precision and patterning suggest human intervention. If these formations were designed by humans, they would represent one of the earliest known examples of large-scale urban or ceremonial construction, challenging our understanding of prehistoric technology and societal organization. Intriguingly, the Yonaguni site bears similarities to other global megalithic locations. Like Pumapunku and Baalbek, it features massive stone blocks, terraces, and precise geometry. Like Stonehenge and the Nazca Lines, it seems to incorporate an understanding of alignment and spatial organization. Some researchers have even speculated that the monument may have been part of an ancient maritime network or served as a ceremonial site linked to oceanic or astronomical observations. The parallels across continents suggest that the builders of Yonaguni were part of a broader tradition of knowledge, encoding information in stone for posterity, and leaving a message that could survive millennia of natural upheaval. The implications of Yonaguni extend beyond archaeology. If confirmed as a man-made site, it would demand a radical reassessment of human history. Conventional timelines would be challenged, revealing that advanced construction, planning, and possibly even symbolic or religious practices existed much earlier than previously believed. This could imply that knowledge of megalithic construction, architectural design, and site planning was more widespread and ancient than scholars have assumed. In the context of the Megalith Code, Yonaguni represents a submerged chapter, hidden for millennia, waiting to be deciphered alongside other monumental sites across the globe. Yet, as with many mysterious sites, debate continues. Geologists argue that natural processes, erosion, tectonic shifts, and sedimentary formations could account for much of what is seen. Archaeologists caution against attributing human intent without definitive artifacts. However, the combination of straight edges, right angles, terraces, and terraces' regularity makes purely natural explanations insufficient. The site demands acknowledgement that either an unknown civilization existed far earlier than previously accepted, or that nature produced one of the most improbable and uncanny formations on Earth. Either possibility leaves us questioning the boundaries of what we know about history, engineering, and the capabilities of ancient peoples. Standing over the submerged terraces of Yonaguni, one is struck by the magnitude of the mystery. The site is silent, hidden beneath water, yet it calls out to those willing to explore its secrets. Every terrace, every step, every channel could encode a message, a record of human ingenuity, knowledge, or ritual lost to time. Yonaguni may not only be a monument of stone, it may also be a beacon, an underwater marker in the global pattern of megalithic sites, linking civilizations separated by continents and millennia. In the greater narrative of the Megalith Code, Yonaguni is a reminder that history may not be confined to the dry lands we study. It extends beneath oceans, hidden from sight, waiting for discovery. Like the Sphinx, Baalbek, Pumapunku, Stonehenge, Easter Island, and the Nazca Lines, it challenges our assumptions and demands that we consider the possibility of advanced, ancient civilizations that deliberately encoded knowledge in stone to survive the passage of time. Yonaguni is not merely submerged rock, it is a message from a lost chapter of human history, waiting for us to listen and decode. In the arid plains of southeastern Turkey, near the city of Anlurfa, lies Gobekli Tepe, a site that has fundamentally challenged our understanding of prehistoric civilization. Unlike the megalithic monuments of later periods, Gobekli Tepe dates back over 11,000 years, placing it in the pre-pottery Neolithic era, a time when humanity was still largely hunter-gatherer. Yet the site is nothing short of extraordinary. Massive T-shaped stone pillars arranged in circular enclosures, intricately carved with depictions of animals, abstract symbols, and mysterious motifs, stand in deliberate order, suggesting a level of planning, artistry, and social organization previously thought impossible for this period. Gobekli Tepe is more than an archaeological site. It is a declaration that advanced thought, spiritual practice, and megalithic construction existed long before the rise of agriculture, cities, or even writing, making it a crucial chapter in the global narrative of the Megalith Code. The most striking feature of Gobekli Tepe is its pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, carved from local limestone and carefully erected within circular enclosures ranging from 10 to 30 meters in diameter. Each pillar is adorned with reliefs of lions, foxes, snakes, boars, birds, and other creatures, meticulously engraved with a skill that suggests not only artistic talent but symbolic or ritual significance. Some researchers propose that these carvings represent a codified language, conveying stories, mythologies, or cosmological knowledge. The consistency of design and the sophistication of the carving techniques indicate that the builders possessed advanced knowledge of geometry, stoneworking, and symbolic representation, all while existing in a society that had yet to develop pottery, permanent settlements, or written records. Gobekli Tepe's layout further amplifies the mystery. Unlike later megalithic sites, which are often aligned with solar or lunar events, the site's circular enclosures suggest complex planning and ritual coordination. The arrangement may reflect social hierarchies, cosmological principles, or ceremonial functions. Some scholars argue that the site served as a pilgrimage center, a gathering place where scattered hunter-gatherer communities convened to participate in rituals, share knowledge, and perhaps even encode sacred wisdom in the stone. The very act of constructing such monumental architecture implies an organized society capable of cooperation, planning, and long-term vision, a challenge to conventional timelines that assume sedentary agriculture was necessary for complex construction projects. One of the most enigmatic aspects of Gobekli Tepe is the sheer scale of effort involved in its construction. Erecting pillars of such size and carving intricate motifs required not only labor but precise engineering. The stones had to be quarried, transported, raised into place, and aligned within the circular structures, all without the aid of metal tools or the wheel. Archaeologists suggest that wooden levers, ropes, and earthen ramps may have been employed, but the sophistication and consistency achieved are staggering. This level of planning and execution indicates knowledge of physics, leverage, and collaborative organization that challenges traditional assumptions about Neolithic societies. The carvings themselves may hold deeper secrets. Many feature predatory animals or abstract motifs that are difficult to interpret, leading some researchers to speculate that they encode astronomical information, spiritual knowledge, or a proto-writing system. Others propose that the site's motifs are linked to shamanic practices, depicting visions or symbolic narratives that were essential to communal rituals. The repetition of certain motifs across different enclosures suggests continuity of knowledge, possibly a structured system of teaching or recording cultural and cosmic information. If so, Gobekli Tepe represents not merely monumental architecture but an early form of encoded knowledge, a physical manifestation of the Megalith Code. Gobekli Tepe also raises questions about the relationship between religion, knowledge, and societal development. Conventional archaeology posits that agriculture led to complex society and monumental construction. Gobekli Tepe flips this model, showing that monumental construction and organized spiritual activity may have predated settled life. In other words, spiritual and cognitive sophistication may have driven societal advancement, rather than the reverse. This realization has profound implications. It suggests that humans possess the intellectual and organizational capacity for advanced knowledge far earlier than previously acknowledged, a theme that resonates across global megalithic sites. The site's sudden abandonment adds yet another layer of mystery. Archaeologists believe that Gobekli Tepe was deliberately buried around 8000 BCE, leaving the pillars and enclosures concealed beneath layers of soil. Why would an advanced society intentionally bury such a monumental site? Some theories suggest ritual closure, while others propose that the knowledge it encoded was meant to be hidden until a future generation could understand it. This deliberate preservation mirrors the global pattern seen in the Megalith Code, where knowledge is hidden in stone, protected through time, and encoded in ways that challenge later civilizations to decipher. Gobekli Tepe's significance extends beyond Turkey. When viewed alongside sites like Baalbek, Stonehenge, Puma Punku, and the Nazca Lines, it reinforces a global pattern of advanced megalithic knowledge. The use of large stones, precise alignment, symbolic carving, and encoded meaning appears not as isolated phenomena but as part of a shared or convergent tradition. It suggests that humanity's history of monumental intelligence, symbolic representation, and encoded knowledge stretches back far further than the rise of classical civilizations. Standing among the towering pillars of Gobekli Tepe, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe, even vertigo, at the realization that over 11,000 years ago, humans undertook a project of extraordinary ambition. These stones, silent yet eloquent, testify to a deep understanding of art, astronomy, ritual, and construction. They whisper of a time when human cognition, spiritual insight, and practical ingenuity converged to create monuments that would outlast civilizations and challenge future generations to decode their meaning. Gobekli Tepe is more than an archaeological site. It is a declaration from the dawn of civilization, a foundational chapter in the Megalith Code that links humanity's earliest monumental achievements to a universal quest for knowledge and meaning. High above the city of Cusco, Peru, rises the imposing fortress of Sacsayhuaman, a site that has long fascinated archaeologists, engineers, and travelers alike. Unlike typical stone structures, Sacsayhuaman is renowned for its massive, irregularly shaped stones, some weighing over 100 tons, fitted together with such precision that no mortar is needed. The interlocking patterns of the stones create walls that have withstood centuries of earthquakes in a seismically active region, defying conventional explanations of construction for its era. Yet beyond its military and ceremonial functions, Sacsayhuaman presents an engineering mystery. How did the ancient builders quarry, transport, and fit these gigantic stones with such accuracy, especially given the technological limitations attributed to the Inca and their predecessors? This fortress, perched atop a hill with sweeping views of the valley, is not only a defensive marvel but also a testament to a lost mastery of megalithic engineering, making it a crucial piece in the global puzzle of the Megalith Code. The scale of Sacsayhuaman is immediately striking. The main walls stretch over 500 meters in length and rise up to 6 meters in height, forming a series of zigzagging terraces that have puzzled historians and engineers for generations. The stones are irregular in shape, yet they fit together with astonishing precision, with some joints so tight that even a piece of paper cannot be inserted between them. Each block was carefully shaped to interlock with its neighbors, creating a stability that has allowed the fortress to survive countless earthquakes that have leveled other structures in the region. The meticulous craftsmanship required to achieve such precision without modern tools raises profound questions about the techniques used by the builders and whether they had access to lost knowledge or technologies. Transporting these colossal stones presents yet another enigma. Many of the largest blocks were quarried from locations several kilometers away, at elevations higher than the fortress itself. Moving stones weighing dozens of tons across rugged Andean terrain, up steep inclines, and into precise positions without wheels, draft animals, or advanced machinery would have required extraordinary ingenuity, coordination, and manpower. Traditional explanations suggest the use of ramps, levers, and teams of laborists, but even modern engineers experimenting with these methods acknowledge the difficulty of the task. Some researchers speculate that the Inca may have inherited techniques from an earlier, more technologically advanced civilization, echoing similar mysteries found at Puma Punku, Baalbek, and other megalithic sites around the world. The interlocking stone technique itself is remarkable. Unlike other megalithic constructions where blocks are cut into regular shapes, the stones at Sacsayhuaman are irregular polygons, yet they fit together like a perfectly crafted puzzle. This method distributes weight evenly and allows the structure to absorb seismic shocks, a feature that modern earthquake-resistant architecture emulates but often cannot match in stone. The precision with which the stones interlock suggests not only advanced measurement skills but also a deep understanding of structural dynamics. It is as though the builders encoded their knowledge of physics and geometry directly into the stone, leaving behind a legacy of engineering wisdom that continues to baffle contemporary experts. Beyond its structural marvels, Sacsayhuaman also served ceremonial and symbolic purposes. Historical records and local legends indicate that the fortress was not only a military stronghold but also a sacred site, used for rituals and astronomical observations. Some researchers suggest that the orientation of the walls and terraces aligns with solstices and other celestial events, linking the site to a broader tradition of megalithic structures designed to connect humanity with the cosmos. The combination of military, ceremonial, and possibly astronomical functions demonstrates that Sacsayhuaman was conceived as more than a fortress. It was a multidimensional statement of power, knowledge, and cosmic awareness. The construction techniques at Sacsayhuaman also challenged the accepted timeline of technological development. Carving, shaping, and fitting stones of such size and irregularity requires tools, planning, and organizational skills that, according to mainstream history, should have been beyond the capabilities of the Inca civilization. Yet the fortress stands as irrefutable evidence that these builders, or those who preceded them, possessed knowledge of engineering, geometry, and logistics that rivals modern standards. Some theorists suggest that megalithic knowledge was passed down through generations, preserved in oral tradition, ritual practice, or even encoded directly into construction methods, a hallmark of the Megalith Code observed in sites from the Andes to the Middle East. Moreover, Sacsayhuaman's resilience is a testament to the ingenuity of its designers. The fortress has endured centuries of natural disasters, from earthquakes to severe weather, yet its walls remain largely intact. The irregular, interlocking stone pattern allows the structure to shift slightly during seismic events without collapsing, a level of earthquake engineering that was astonishingly sophisticated for its time. This durability suggests that the builders had not only a deep understanding of materials and structural integrity but also an intention to create monuments that could survive for millennia, preserving their legacy for future generations. Walking among the terraces and colossal stones of Sacsayhuaman, one is struck by the scale, precision, and vision of its creators. It is more than a fortress. It is a record of extraordinary human skill, a testament to knowledge that was far ahead of its time. Every stone seems deliberately placed, every wall engineered to endure, and every interlocking joint a silent message to future observers. The builders understood principles of construction and physics that continue to awe modern engineers. In the context of the Megalith Code, Sacsayhuaman is a critical piece of the global puzzle. Its massive interlocking stones echo the precision of Pumapunku, the scale of Baalbek, and the intentional design seen in Stonehenge and Gobekli Tepe. It is part of a pattern that transcends geography and culture, an ancient, widespread tradition of encoding advanced knowledge into monumental architecture, leaving clues for those capable of reading the message. Sacsayhuaman stands not only as a fortress but as a declaration of human ingenuity, engineering mastery, and the enduring power of the Megalith Code, a code that challenges conventional history and continues to inspire awe, curiosity, and wonder. In the Bekaa Valley of modern-day Lebanon lies one of the most awe-inspiring and perplexing megalithic sites on the planet, Baalbek, known in antiquity as Heliopolis, the city of the sun. What makes Baalbek extraordinary is not just the scale of the ruins but the sheer size of the stones used in their construction. Among them, the famous Trilithon stones weigh an estimated 800 to 1,200 tons each, making them some of the largest precisely cut stones ever quarried and moved by human hands. How the ancient builders transported, lifted, and aligned such massive blocks remains one of the greatest mysteries in archaeology and engineering. Beyond their size, the stones are cut with such precision that the joints are nearly perfect, despite their immense weight. Baalbek, like Pumapunku, Sacsayhuaman, and other megalithic sites, stands as a testament to lost knowledge and may hold crucial clues to the global phenomenon of advanced prehistoric construction that the Megalith Code seeks to illuminate. The scale of the quarrying and construction at Baalbek is staggering. The Trilithon blocks are so massive that moving them even a few meters would challenge modern cranes. Yet the ancient builders not only transported these stones but also positioned them with remarkable accuracy, creating a platform that has remained stable for thousands of years. Beyond the Trilithon, there is the so-called stone of the pregnant woman, weighing approximately 1,200 tons, still lying near the quarry, raising further questions about how such blocks could have been moved at all. Scholars debate whether the stones were dragged on sledges, floated on rafts along the Litani River, or manipulated with some forgotten technology, but none of these explanations fully account for the precision and scale of the work. The site's construction defies our conventional understanding of what pre-Roman civilizations were capable of achieving. Baalbek's architectural design is another layer of its enigma. The massive platform forms the foundation for the Temple of Jupiter, which once housed colossal columns, some reaching 22 meters in height. The precision with which the platform stones interlock, despite their irregular shapes, is remarkable. They were designed to withstand earthquakes, settling, and the passage of millennia. The attention to structural stability is matched by aesthetic considerations. The terraces, columns, and surrounding structures were arranged to create a visual and ceremonial impact, blending engineering prowess with religious symbolism. This combination of practicality and design is a recurring theme in megalithic architecture worldwide, suggesting a shared understanding of both structural mechanics and human perception. One of the most striking aspects of Baalbek is the apparent sophistication of its construction techniques. The stones are cut with incredible precision, featuring smooth faces, sharp edges, and joints so tight that even modern tools would struggle to replicate them. The surface of each block is perfectly leveled, and some have intricate channeling carved into them, possibly for the insertion of metal clamps or other fittings. The methods used to achieve such perfection remain unknown. Modern engineers and stonemasons who have studied Baalbek often conclude that replicating the work today would be a monumental challenge, highlighting the possibility that the ancient builders possess techniques or knowledge that has been lost to history. Baalbek also raises questions about the purpose of such monumental construction. While it is often described as a temple complex dedicated to the Roman god Jupiter, Many researchers argue that its scale far exceeds the religious needs of any known civilization at the time. Some alternative theorists suggest that Baalbek was part of a global network of sacred sites, connected through knowledge of astronomy, geology, and energy. Others propose that the site's massive stones were intended to channel or store energy, aligning with theories about vibration, resonance, and the metaphysical properties of stone. Whether sacred, functional, or both, Baalbek clearly represents a civilization capable of combining advanced engineering, spiritual symbolism, and monumental vision. The global context of Baalbek is equally compelling. Its massive stones echo the scale of Puma Punku and Sacsayhuaman, while its precision and architectural sophistication mirror aspects of Stonehenge and Gobekli Tepe. The recurrence of similar principles, gigantic stones, precise interlocking, celestial alignment, and symbolic encoding, suggests that Baalbek was not an isolated anomaly. Instead, it may have been part of a broader tradition of advanced megalithic construction, a worldwide expression of knowledge encoded in stone for the benefit of future generations. This perspective forces us to reconsider the origins of civilization, the dissemination of technology, and the possibility of shared knowledge across continents long before the age of classical empires. Legends surrounding Baalbek further deepen its mystique. Local folklore attributes the construction to giants or even supernatural beings, echoing stories from other megalithic sites around the world. These myths may preserve faint memories of extraordinary engineering feats performed by humans whose capabilities were later mythologized. Whether literal or symbolic, the legends underscore a truth that transcends time. The construction of Baalbek required skill, intelligence, and ingenuity that remains almost incomprehensible to modern observers. Standing among the colossal stones of Baalbek, one feels a profound sense of awe and humility. Each block is a testament to human ambition, mastery, and the capacity to achieve the extraordinary. The site challenges our assumptions about ancient civilizations, suggesting that far from being primitive, these builders were operating with a level of knowledge, skill, and vision that continues to elude modern comprehension. In the context of the Megalith Code, Baalbek is a cornerstone, literally and figuratively, of humanity's ancient architectural legacy. Its massive stones, precise craftsmanship, and monumental scale align with other great megalithic sites, reinforcing the idea that a network of ancient knowledge existed across the globe. Baalbek stands as both a marvel and a message, inviting us to explore the limits of human ingenuity and to question what else may have been lost in the shadows of history, waiting to be rediscovered. Rising majestically from the desert sands of Giza, the Great Pyramid stands as a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and the enduring mysteries of ancient civilization. Constructed around 4,500 years ago during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, it was originally 146 meters tall, making it the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years. The sheer scale of the pyramid, composed of over 2.3 million limestone and granite blocks weighing from 2 to 80 tons each, has long baffled historians, engineers, and researchers alike. How a civilization without modern tools, machinery, or advanced mathematics achieves such precision in quarrying, transporting, and assembling these stones remains one of the most enduring enigmas in human history. Beyond its physical grandeur, the Great Pyramid, and its neighboring structures, the Pyramid of Khafra, the Pyramid of Menkaure, and the Sphinx, conceal layers of astronomical, mathematical, and possibly symbolic knowledge that continue to captivate seekers of the Megalith Code. The precision of construction at Giza is staggering. The base of the Great Pyramid covers approximately 13 acres and is level to within just a few centimeters, a feat remarkable even by today's engineering standards. The stones are laid in perfect horizontal courses, and the joints between blocks are so tightly fitted that a knife blade cannot be inserted. Researchers have noted that the pyramid sides are aligned almost exactly with the 4 cardinal points, an achievement that demonstrates not only geometric mastery but also an understanding of astronomy. The Great Pyramid is therefore more than a tomb. It is a statement of knowledge, an observatory, and possibly even a coded message preserved in stone for posterity. Transporting the massive blocks presents a puzzle that has fueled debate for centuries. The limestone used for the casing stones was quarried nearby, while the heavier granite blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, were brought from Aswan, over 800 kilometers away. Conventional theories propose the use of sledges, ramps, and manpower, yet the efficiency and precision of placement, particularly for the higher courses, remain astonishing. Some researchers have suggested that water-lubricated sand, levers, or even more exotic technologies could have been used to facilitate movement. Regardless of the method, the construction required meticulous planning, coordination, and an advanced understanding of logistics that implies a level of sophistication often underestimated in discussions of Old Kingdom Egypt. The internal architecture of the Great Pyramid adds layers of intrigue. Hidden passageways, the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery reveal sophisticated engineering designed to distribute immense weight and maintain structural integrity over millennia. Air shafts aligned with specific stars suggest astronomical and possibly ritual significance, connecting the pyramid's construction to celestial events and cycles. The precise orientation of these shafts may indicate that the Egyptians were encoding advanced knowledge of the heavens, mapping the stars in a manner that transcends mere symbolism. This celestial connection aligns with patterns observed in other megalithic sites worldwide, from Stonehenge to the Nazca Lines, suggesting a global consciousness focused on the cosmos. Mathematical and geodetic considerations further amplify the pyramid's mystery. Scholars have observed that the pyramid encodes the value of pi, with the ratio between the perimeter and height approximating the famous constant. Others note correlations with the Earth's dimensions, axial tilt, and precession cycles. Whether by deliberate design or remarkable coincidence, these correlations suggest that the builders possessed a profound understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and geography, knowledge that would be astounding even in the modern era. The Great Pyramid thus operates on multiple levels, as a tomb, a celestial map, a monument to mathematics, and a potential repository of ancient wisdom. The surrounding complex, including the Sphinx and subsidiary pyramids, adds cultural and symbolic context. The Sphinx, with its enigmatic visage, aligns with the rising sun during equinoxes and may have served as a guardian or marker of sacred knowledge. Temples, causeways, and smaller pyramids all contribute to a sophisticated ceremonial landscape designed to link the living, the dead, and the cosmos. This interplay of function, symbolism, and astronomical alignment mirrors principles seen in other megalithic sites, suggesting a deliberate integration of architecture, spirituality, and science. Hidden codes and potential secrets continue to fuel speculation. Modern explorations using muon imaging have detected unknown voids within the Great Pyramid, hinting at undiscovered chambers or passages that may hold artifacts or inscriptions. Ancient texts and legends speak of hidden wisdom encoded in sacred architecture, a theme consistent across global megalithic traditions. If the pyramid's construction incorporates intentional codes, then it represents a conscious effort to preserve knowledge across millennia, a hallmark of the Megalith Code observed in sites as diverse as Punku, Stonehenge, and Gobekli Tepe. The Great Pyramid's construction challenges our understanding of human capability and the history of technology. The precision, scale, and sophistication suggest that their builders were far more advanced than traditional narratives allow. It compels us to ask whether humanity once possessed knowledge that was lost or suppressed, knowledge encoded in stone for future generations to rediscover. In this sense, the pyramid is not merely a monument of ancient Egypt, it is a message across time, a challenge to modern scholars to decode the genius of our ancestors. Standing before the Great Pyramid, one feels both awe and humility. Its immense size, flawless geometry, and alignment with the cosmos convey a silent message. Humanity's story is far deeper and more complex than conventional history admits. Each stone, each chamber, and each alignment speaks of a civilization capable of feats that continue to defy explanation. The Great Pyramid, in its grandeur and mystery, embodies the Megalith Code, connecting Egypt to a global pattern of megalithic knowledge, and reminding us that the past still holds secrets waiting to be unraveled. High in the Andean highlands near Tiwanaku, Bolivia, lies Punku, one of the most enigmatic and technically advanced megalithic sites in the world. Part of the greater Tiwanaku complex, Punku is renowned for its precisely cut and intricately shaped stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, which interlock with astonishing accuracy. The precision achieved in shaping these megaliths, including perfectly straight edges, right angles, and complex H-shaped interlocking joints, has left archaeologists, engineers, and historians puzzled for decades. What is most striking is that the stones exhibit such exactness that modern machinery would struggle to replicate them. Yet the site was constructed around 500 to 600 CE, long before industrial tools existed. Punku challenges conventional explanations of pre-Columbian engineering, suggesting that ancient builders possessed advanced knowledge of stone cutting, geometry, and possibly even lost technologies, making it a critical piece of the Megalith Code. The engineering precision at Punku is nothing short of extraordinary. Each block was shaped to fit perfectly with its neighbors, creating walls and platforms that interlock in a modular system. The H-shaped blocks, in particular, are a marvel, designed to slide into slots or anchor larger structures with minimal gaps. Some blocks display perfectly straight lines and flat surfaces, with tolerances of less than a millimeter, precision that would be remarkable even today. Archaeologists have debated the tools and methods used to achieve such accuracy, with suggestions ranging from copper chisels hardened with sand to unknown advanced techniques that remain lost to history. The site's precision not only demonstrates technical mastery but also indicates a deep understanding of structural stability and architectural planning. Transporting the massive stones used at Puma Punku is another enigma. Many of the andesite and red sandstone blocks were quarried several kilometers away, at elevations higher than the construction site. Moving stones weighing up to 130 tons across rugged Andean terrain, without the wheel or draft animals, would have required incredible ingenuity and coordination. Traditional theories propose the use of sledges, ramps, or rollers, but experiments attempting to replicate these feats with modern knowledge have shown how challenging it would have been. Some researchers suggest that the builders may have used techniques lost to time, possibly including advanced understanding of leverage, vibration, or even thermal methods to manipulate the stone, a concept echoed in other global megalithic sites. The design and layout of Puma Punku further underscore the sophistication of its builders. The site was constructed with a modular architectural plan, where large stones fit together like pieces of a giant puzzle. Terraces, platforms, and retaining walls were carefully arranged to create stability and possibly to serve ceremonial, religious, or astronomical functions. The precision of the cuts and the alignment of the stones suggest not just practical construction but a codified knowledge of geometry and spatial reasoning, hinting that the builders encoded information into the structure itself. This idea resonates with the concept of the Megalith Code, that ancient civilizations intentionally embedded knowledge into their architecture, preserving it for future generations. One of the most puzzling aspects of Puma Punku is the method of stone shaping. Many blocks bear perfectly straight edges, 90-degree angles, and smooth surfaces that would be extremely difficult to achieve with only primitive tools. The interlocking joints are so precise that they require little to no filler or mortar, demonstrating an understanding of load distribution and seismic stability. Some researchers argue that the level of precision indicates tools or techniques unknown to contemporary archaeology, while others suggest highly skilled craftsmanship combined with iterative planning. Regardless of the method, the results are undeniably impressive and continue to defy conventional explanations. The historical context of Puma Punku also raises questions about the broader capabilities of Andean civilizations. Tiwanaku, the parent city, was a thriving cultural and religious center long before the Inca, yet the technological sophistication evident at Puma Punku seems anomalously advanced. The precision, planning, and scale of the site suggest that knowledge of engineering, geometry, and construction was far more advanced than typically acknowledged for this period and region. This aligns with patterns seen in other global megalithic sites, where isolated civilizations demonstrated surprisingly high levels of technical skill and encoded symbolic or practical knowledge into stone. Additionally, some researchers speculate that Puma Punku may have had a ritualistic or astronomical function. The arrangement of terraces, platforms, and certain alignments may have corresponded to celestial events or served as markers for agricultural cycles. The combination of ceremonial, practical, and engineering sophistication mirrors patterns observed at sites like Stonehenge, Gobekli Tepe, and the Nazca Lines, suggesting a global tradition of integrating knowledge, ritual, and monumental architecture. The site may have been designed not only for utility but also as a message, preserving knowledge in stone for generations to come. Walking among the massive stones of Puma Punku, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and mystery. Each block, cut with geometric precision, interlocking seamlessly with its neighbors, speaks to an intelligence and skill that transcends what we expect of its time. The site challenges conventional timelines of technological development and prompts questions about the origin and transmission of ancient knowledge. In the context of the Megalith Code, Puma Punku represents a critical piece of the global puzzle. Its precise engineering, massive stonework, and modular construction echo techniques seen in Sacsayhuaman, Baalbek, and other megalithic sites, suggesting a shared understanding of advanced principles across cultures and continents. Puma Punku is more than a ruin. It is a statement of human ingenuity, a message encoded in stone, and a testament to a level of sophistication that continues to inspire, challenge, and baffle the modern world. On the rolling plains of Wiltshire, England, stands Stonehenge, one of the most iconic and enigmatic megalithic sites in the world. Composed of massive sarsen stones and smaller bluestones arranged in concentric circles and horseshoe formations, Stonehenge has captivated scholars, archaeologists, and curious visitors for centuries. Construction began around 3100 BCE and continued in phases over more than a millennium, yet the methods, purpose, and knowledge behind its creation remain subjects of intense debate. The monument is more than a collection of stones. It is a complex architectural, astronomical, and ceremonial center that challenges our understanding of prehistoric societies. How these massive stones, some weighing up to 40 tons, were transported over distances of 200 kilometers, shaped, and erected with such precision continues to baffle modern engineers, making Stonehenge a vital key in the narrative of the Megalith Code. The first remarkable aspect of Stonehenge is its astronomical alignment. The monument is precisely oriented to capture solar and lunar events, including the summer solstice sunrise and winter solstice sunset. On the longest day of the year, sunlight illuminates the heel stone and penetrates the center of the monument, highlighting a deliberate understanding of celestial cycles. The alignment suggests that its builders had a sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, which they encoded in stone. Some researchers argue that Stonehenge served as a prehistoric observatory or calendar, allowing ancient peoples to track seasonal changes, plan agricultural activities, and conduct ceremonies tied to cosmic events. This celestial precision resonates with patterns seen in other megalithic sites worldwide, from the pyramids of Giza to the Nazca Lines. Equally impressive is the engineering behind Stonehenge. The larger sarsen stones were transported from Marlborough Downs, roughly 30 kilometers away, while the smaller bluestones originated in the Preseli Hills of Wales, over 200 kilometers distant. The logistics involved in moving these stones over rough terrain without the wheel or draft animals are staggering. Archaeologists propose methods such as rolling the stones on wooden logs, dragging them over greased tracks, or using a combination of ropes, levers, and manpower. However, even with these theories, the precision of placement, the leveling of the stone sockets, and the interlocking lintels require a level of skill and coordination that is extraordinary for Neolithic societies. The construction reflects not just practical engineering but also a deep understanding of structural stability. Stonehenge's architectural design adds to its enigma. The stones are arranged in precise geometric patterns, with lintels atop vertical sarsens forming trilithons that interlock using mortise and tenon joints. These techniques, often attributed to much later periods, suggest advanced knowledge of mechanics and load distribution. The builders achieved remarkable precision in leveling the ground and setting the stones so that the monument has survived over 4,500 years of weather, erosion, and human interference. Such precision indicates planning, measurement, and execution skills that challenge conventional assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. The ceremonial and ritual significance of Stonehenge is another area of intrigue. Evidence suggests that it was a site of healing, spiritual gatherings, and ancestor worship. Burials and human remains found in and around the monument indicate its role as a sacred space, possibly connecting the living with the cosmos and the dead. The arrangement of stones and the alignment with celestial events imply that the builders intended to encode spiritual, cultural, and possibly cosmological knowledge into the structure. Stonehenge, therefore, functions on multiple levels, as a ceremonial center, a calendar, and a coded message preserved in stone. The bluestones themselves add another layer of mystery. Geologists have traced their origins to Wales, yet the purpose of transporting these relatively smaller stones over such great distances remains debated. Some suggest they held spiritual or symbolic significance, perhaps representing sacred connections, ancestral homelands, or cosmological principles. The deliberate choice of stone type, size, and placement indicates that Stonehenge was not simply an architectural feat but also a repository of cultural and symbolic knowledge, carefully encoded for posterity. Stonehenge also prompts questions about the social organization of its builders. Coordinating the labor, planning, and execution of such a monumental site implies a society capable of leadership, shared knowledge, and communal effort on a scale previously underestimated for Neolithic communities. This social complexity parallels other megalithic centers, suggesting that the construction of monumental architecture was often linked to both spiritual and societal sophistication. Furthermore, Stonehenge continues to reveal hidden secrets. Archaeological surveys have uncovered surrounding ceremonial landscapes, including cursus monuments, barrows, and avenues, forming a complex network of sacred spaces. This suggests that Stonehenge was not an isolated structure but part of a larger ceremonial and astronomical system, reinforcing the idea that knowledge was encoded across a landscape rather than confined to a single monument. Walking among the towering stones, one is struck by the monument's enduring mystery. Every stone, every alignment, and every carved groove hints at an advanced understanding of the cosmos, engineering, and ritual practice. Stonehenge is more than an archaeological site. It is a timeless message, a physical manifestation of knowledge and intent preserved for millennia. In the context of the Megalith Code, Stonehenge exemplifies the global pattern of encoding knowledge into stone. Its astronomical precision, engineering mastery, and symbolic significance align it with sites like Gobekli Tepe, Giza, Puma Punku, and Sacsayhuaman, suggesting a shared human endeavor to understand, document, and communicate profound knowledge across time and space. Stonehenge challenges modern assumptions, inspiring awe and curiosity, and serves as a vital link in humanity's ongoing quest to decode the messages left by our ancestors. On the remote volcanic island of Rapa Nui, more commonly known as Easter Island, colossal stone statues, or moai, rise from the landscape in silent testimony to a civilization that flourished in isolation. Carved between the 13th and 16th centuries, these monolithic figures vary in height from 3 to over 10 meters, with some weighing up to 82 tons. Their imposing presence, with oversized heads, elongated torsos, and enigmatic expressions, has captivated scholars, archaeologists, and travelers for centuries. Yet beyond their sheer scale, the moai present enduring mysteries. How were these massive statues quarried, transported, and erected across the island, and what was their true purpose? Unlike other megalithic sites, Easter Island's isolation amplifies the wonder, suggesting a society capable of extraordinary ingenuity and organization, encoding meaning and power into stone, a compelling chapter in the global Megalith Code. The quarry at Rano Raraku, a volcanic crater, served as the primary source for the moai. Here, sculptors carved the statues directly from volcanic tuff, a relatively soft rock that could be shaped using stone tools. Despite the softer rock, the precision and scale of the statues are astonishing, with detailed facial features, body proportions, and symbolic elements carefully crafted. Many statues were left unfinished within the quarry, revealing insights into the carving process and the tools employed. These partially completed moai demonstrate sophisticated techniques, including the sequential removal of stone to shape the head and torso, evidence of advanced planning and artistry. Transporting the moai across the island remains one of the most debated mysteries of Easter Island. Some statues were moved several kilometers from the quarry to ceremonial platforms, or ahu, located near the coast. Theories about their transportation range from rolling the statues on logs, sliding them along prepared paths, to a walking method in which the statues were rocked side to side while moving forward. Experimental archaeology has shown that with careful coordination and manpower, even the largest moai could be transported using these methods, but the level of planning, precision, and collective effort required indicates a society of remarkable organization and engineering skill. The placement of the moai atop the ahu is another enigma. These stone platforms are constructed with finely fitted stones and serve as ceremonial bases, often oriented to face inland, overlooking villages and territories. The moai were not randomly placed. Their alignment and positioning likely had cultural, spiritual, or social significance. Some researchers suggest that the statues represented ancestral figures, serving as guardians or symbols of authority, while others propose that they encoded astronomical knowledge or were connected to cosmological beliefs. In either case, the moai and ahu represent a deliberate attempt to encode meaning, power, and perhaps knowledge into stone, a hallmark of the Megalith Code. The moai also reflect a sophisticated understanding of balance and structural stability. Despite their height and weight, the statues were designed to stand upright on their platforms for centuries. Many ahu feature retaining walls and carefully leveled bases that distribute the weight of the statues, ensuring stability even on uneven terrain. Some moai bear detailed carvings on the backs, including linear motifs and glyph-like symbols, hinting at additional layers of meaning that may have communicated messages or recorded information. These subtle details suggest that the builders were not only skilled artisans but also possessed knowledge of geometry, weight distribution, and possibly symbolic encoding. Cultural context further deepens the mystery of the moai. The island's population, limited in number and resources, achieved feats of monumental construction that would challenge larger civilizations. Scholars have debated how a small society could organize labor, mobilize resources, and sustain such projects over generations. This indicates that the moai were more than artistic expressions. They were central to social cohesion, political power, and religious practice. By embedding meaning and authority in stone, the builders created a tangible link between their community, their ancestors, and the spiritual realm. Easter Island's isolation also emphasizes the broader implications of the moai. The society developed advanced megalithic construction independently, paralleling techniques and intentions found in distant cultures such as the Inca, the Egyptians, and the builders of Stonehenge. This suggests a convergent evolution of megalithic knowledge, where disparate civilizations independently developed similar principles for encoding meaning, astronomy, and social order into stone monuments. The moai are thus not only cultural artifacts but also part of a global pattern, a network of monumental knowledge spanning continents and millennia. Finally, the moai continue to inspire awe, curiosity, and scholarly debate. Standing before a statue, one is struck by its scale, artistry, and silent power. The elongated heads, stoic expressions, and monumental presence convey a profound sense of purpose, as if the statues were designed to endure, communicate, and watch over the living long after the builders themselves were gone. Each moai is a message in stone, a testament to the ingenuity, faith, and social complexity of a people who thrived in isolation yet achieved feats comparable to the greatest megalithic cultures in human history. In the context of the Megalith Code, Easter Island exemplifies the universality of human creativity and the encoding of knowledge into stone. Its moai, meticulously carved, transported, and positioned with symbolic intent, resonate with sites such as Sacsayhuaman, Baalbek, Gobekli Tepe, Puma Punku, and Stonehenge. Easter Island statues are more than cultural icons. They are enduring witnesses to human intelligence, ingenuity, and the enduring quest to leave messages across time. The moai remind us that even in isolation, ancient civilizations achieved the extraordinary, preserving knowledge, power, and mystery for future generations to decode. Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca lines form one of the most mysterious and visually striking megalithic enigmas in the world. Etched into the desert floor between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these enormous geoglyphs depict animals, geometric patterns, and humanoid figures that can only be fully appreciated from the air. Among the most famous figures are the hummingbird, spider, monkey, and condor, each spanning tens or even hundreds of meters in length. The precision, scale, and endurance of these designs, which have survived for over a millennium in one of the harshest climates on Earth, suggest a sophisticated understanding of geometry, astronomy, and perhaps ceremonial or ritual functions. The Nazca lines are not only a testament to the skill and ingenuity of the Nazca people but also a critical piece of the global Megalith Code, echoing the theme of encoding knowledge, power, and meaning into enduring monuments. The method of creating the Nazca lines is deceptively simple yet astonishingly effective. By removing the reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles from the surface, the lighter-colored subsoil is exposed, creating lines that contrast sharply with the surrounding desert. Despite this apparent simplicity, the sheer scale of some figures, up to 370 meters long, required careful planning and execution. Researchers believe that the Nazca used a combination of ropes, stakes, and sighting techniques to achieve straight lines stretching kilometers and complex geometric forms with remarkable accuracy. This suggests that the builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of measurement, perspective, and surveying, knowledge that resonates with similar planning and precision observed at other megalithic sites worldwide. The scale and orientation of the Nazca lines hint at potential astronomical significance. Some lines align with solstices, equinoxes, and the rising or setting of specific celestial bodies, suggesting that the geoglyphs may have functioned as a giant observatory or calendar. This interpretation, though debated, is supported by the careful arrangement of straight lines, trapezoids, and other geometric forms across the landscape, which may correspond to agricultural cycles, celestial events, or ceremonial occasions. By encoding astronomical knowledge into the very ground itself, the Nazca created a durable, large-scale record of cosmological observation, linking human activity to the movements of the heavens. Many of the animal figures carry symbolic or spiritual significance. The hummingbird, for example, may have been associated with fertility and water, essential resources in the arid Nazca environment, while the monkey, spider, and condor could represent cosmological or ritual entities. Unlike other megalithic monuments, which rely on stone construction, the Nazca lines demonstrate that megalithic principles, encoding meaning into the landscape, can extend to shaping Earth itself. This highlights a universal theme in ancient civilizations: the desire to communicate knowledge, assert cultural identity, and engage with the cosmos through monumental works. One of the enduring mysteries of the Nazca lines is how they were intended to be viewed. While some scholars argue that the designs were created for the gods to see from above, others propose that elevated platforms, hills, or natural vantage points allowed the figures to be appreciated from the ground. Regardless of the perspective, the execution demonstrates not only technical skill but also conceptual foresight. anticipating the viewer's experience and ensuring the images would endure visually for generations. This ability to plan at such scale and precision reflects a cognitive sophistication that parallels other advanced megalithic endeavors, such as the pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge. The preservation of the Nazca lines is another remarkable aspect. The dry, stable climate of the Nazca Desert has allowed the lines to remain visible for over 1,500 years, yet their survival also speaks to the builders' understanding of environmental conditions and materials. The careful selection of stone surfaces and their deliberate removal of topsoil ensured durability, demonstrating a practical knowledge of how to create long-lasting monuments. This foresight aligns with the patterns observed in global megalithic architecture, where builders engineered structures not only for immediate use but also for endurance across millennia. Beyond their technical achievements, the Nazca lines also reveal insights into the social organization of the Nazca culture. The scale of labor required to create these enormous geoglyphs implies communal coordination, planning, and specialized roles, suggesting that the society possessed both social cohesion and an organized leadership structure capable of mobilizing resources. The lines were likely central to religious, ceremonial, or community activities, reinforcing social bonds while encoding sacred or practical knowledge in the landscape itself. The Nazca lines continue to inspire fascination, debate, and awe. Their scale, precision, and enduring mystery connect them to other megalithic wonders around the world, from the pyramids of Giza to Puma Punku, Stonehenge, and Easter Island. In each case, humans encoded profound knowledge, cultural identity, and possibly spiritual messages into stone or earth, creating monuments that would communicate across centuries and millennia. The Nazca lines, etched into the desert floor, represent a powerful expression of this universal impulse to preserve wisdom, power, and mystery for future generations. In the context of the Megalith Code, the Nazca lines exemplify the fusion of technical skill, astronomical understanding, and symbolic encoding. Their enduring visibility, conceptual complexity, and monumental scale demonstrate a shared human desire to leave lasting messages, to connect the earthly with the celestial, and to encode knowledge in a form that transcends time. The Nazca lines are not merely artistic or ceremonial expressions, they are a statement of intelligence, planning, and cosmic awareness, reinforcing the global narrative of advanced prehistoric knowledge and the mysterious continuity of the Megalith Code. Stretching across the windswept plains of Brittany in northwestern France, the Karnak stones constitute one of the most extensive and enigmatic megalithic landscapes in the world. Comprising over 3,000 standing stones, arranged in long parallel rows, circles, and individual formations, these monuments were erected during the Neolithic period, around 3300 to 4500 BCE. The sheer scale of Karnak, combined with the precision of its alignments and the mysteries surrounding its purpose, continues to captivate archaeologists, historians, and enthusiasts of ancient civilizations. Unlike other megalithic sites that focus on monumental structures like pyramids or temples, Karnak emphasizes linearity, repetition, and spatial organization, raising profound questions about the social, ritual, and astronomical knowledge of its builders. The site's patterns, meticulously laid out across several kilometers, suggest a sophisticated understanding of geometry, cosmology, and landscape planning, making Karnak a critical element in the broader tapestry of the Megalith Code. The most immediately striking feature of Karnak is the extraordinary arrangement of its stone rows, often referred to as alignments. The Menek alignment, the most famous of these, stretches nearly 4 kilometers and consists of over 1,100 stones set in 11 parallel rows. These rows are not random, they follow subtle curves and deviations, creating a sense of rhythm, order, and intentional design. Each stone varies in height, width, and shape, yet the overall effect is one of harmony and purpose. Archaeologists have debated the methods used to position and erect the stones, considering the absence of modern machinery and the remote nature of the site. The precision achieved suggests a highly organized society with specialized labor, advanced surveying techniques, and a clear understanding of spatial geometry. In addition to the linear arrangements, Karnak features numerous dolmens, tumuli, and stone circles, indicating multifaceted functions. Dolmens, or stone tombs, often contain human remains, suggesting funerary or ritualistic significance. Tumuli, mound-like structures, serve as burial mounds or ceremonial platforms, further emphasizing the sacred character of the landscape. Stone circles, reminiscent of Stonehenge yet differing in form and scale, imply that the builders were also concerned with celestial observation and symbolic geometry. Together, these elements reflect a society capable of integrating spiritual, astronomical, and communal concerns into monumental architecture on a massive scale. The alignment of the stones with celestial bodies remains one of Karnak's most intriguing mysteries. Some researchers propose that the rows point toward specific solar or lunar events, such as solstices or equinoxes, serving as an early astronomical calendar. Others suggest that the alignments correspond to notable constellations or star risings, indicating an advanced understanding of celestial mechanics. While definitive proof remains elusive, the possibility that the Karnak builders intentionally encoded astronomical knowledge into the landscape aligns with patterns observed in global megalithic traditions, from the pyramids of Giza to Stonehenge and the Nazca Lines. The careful orientation of the stones underscores the interplay between human activity, ritual practice, and cosmic observation in Neolithic Europe. Equally fascinating is the social and cultural context required to construct such a massive site. Erecting thousands of stones, some weighing several tons, across kilometers of uneven terrain, would have required careful planning, labor organization, and resource allocation. This implies that the people of Karnak had a complex social structure capable of mobilizing and sustaining large workforces over extended periods. The construction of these monuments likely served multiple purposes: asserting communal identity, demonstrating leadership or religious authority, and creating enduring links with ancestors or deities. The effort invested in these megaliths highlights the deep cultural importance of monumentality in Neolithic societies. The craftsmanship of the stones themselves adds another layer of mystery. Many of the standing stones were shaped, carved, or dressed to enhance their visual and symbolic impact. Some stones bear cut marks, grooves, or carvings, suggesting symbolic or ritualistic meaning, possibly encoding messages, stories, or cosmological concepts. These subtle modifications indicate that the builders were not merely concerned with erecting stones for utilitarian purposes. They were conveying information, asserting spiritual beliefs, and creating a landscape imbued with significance that would endure for millennia. The broader Karnak landscape also points to a network of connected sites, extending the influence and purpose of the megaliths beyond individual alignments. Surrounding villages, smaller stone circles, and satellite alignments suggest that Karnak functioned as a ceremonial, spiritual, and possibly administrative hub, integrating local geography, human activity, and sacred architecture. This integration of space, purpose, and celestial awareness mirrors other global megalithic sites, reinforcing the idea that ancient builders worldwide were encoding knowledge, power, and meaning into monumental forms. Standing among the towering rows of Karnak, one is struck by the vision, ambition, and precision of its builders. Each stone contributes to a larger pattern, reflecting a culture deeply attuned to landscape, society, and the cosmos. The site challenges conventional narratives about Neolithic Europe, suggesting that prehistoric communities possessed sophisticated knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and social organization, encoded in enduring stone. In the context of the Megalith Code, Karnak represents a vital link in the global pattern of megalithic knowledge. Its thousands of meticulously arranged stones, celestial alignments, and symbolic elements resonate with sites. From Stonehenge to Giza, Puma Punku, Easter Island, and beyond, Karnak demonstrates that ancient humans across continents and eras shared a common impulse to encode meaning, ritual, and advanced understanding into stone, leaving enduring messages that continue to inspire, challenge, and intrigue humanity today. Perched atop a remote hill in southeastern Turkey, Gobekli Tepe stands as one of the most astonishing and paradigm-shifting archaeological discoveries of the modern era. Dated to around 9600 BCE, it predates Stonehenge, the pyramids of Giza, and virtually all known monumental structures by several millennia, rewriting our understanding of the origins of human civilization. The site consists of massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circular and oval enclosures, some weighing up to 20 tons. These pillars are elaborately carved with reliefs of animals, abstract symbols, and humanoid figures, showcasing artistic sophistication and symbolic communication far beyond what was thought possible for hunter-gatherer societies of the time. Gobekli Tepe challenges conventional timelines of societal development, suggesting that monumental architecture, complex symbolism, and organized labor existed long before the advent of agriculture, making it a cornerstone in the study of the Megalith Code. The architectural design of Gobekli Tepe is staggering in its scale and sophistication. The circular enclosures, some measuring over 20 meters in diameter, are constructed with central pillars flanked by smaller supporting stones. Each pillar is intricately carved with depictions of predators, herbivores, and abstract motifs, indicating a rich symbolic or spiritual system. The T-shaped pillars are interpreted by some researchers as anthropomorphic representations, possibly embodying deities, ancestral spirits, or cosmological principles. The precision with which the stones were quarried, transported, and erected without metal tools or draft animals suggests a level of technical ingenuity that continues to astonish archaeologists and engineers alike. The monumental scale of the work implies that early humans were capable of organized labor, planning, and resource allocation far earlier than traditionally believed. One of the most compelling aspects of Gobekli Tepe is the advanced symbolism encoded in its carvings. Animals such as lions, snakes, boars, foxes, and birds are represented in relief on the pillars, sometimes in highly stylized forms. These carvings may have conveyed cosmological knowledge, mythological narratives, or coded messages understood by the society that built the site. The recurrence of specific motifs across enclosures suggests a deliberate system of symbolic communication, possibly serving religious, ritualistic, or educational purposes. Gobekli Tepe, therefore, was not simply a gathering place but a complex record of knowledge and belief, preserved in monumental stone for generations. The construction techniques employed at Gobekli Tepe are equally enigmatic. Archaeologists have noted the precise shaping of the limestone pillars, the careful leveling of the foundations, and the alignment of enclosures, all achieved without metal tools. Stones were quarried locally, yet moving pillars weighing up to 20 tons over uneven terrain would have required sophisticated methods of transport, leveraging, and coordination. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that coordinated teams could theoretically accomplish such feats using simple tools, ropes, and ingenuity, but the scale and consistency of construction across multiple enclosures indicate a high degree of technical knowledge and social organization. The builders clearly understood principles of balance, weight distribution, and spatial planning. Gobekli Tepe also challenges traditional narratives about the rise of agriculture and sedentary life. Conventional history suggests that permanent settlements and monumental architecture followed the domestication of plants and animals. Yet Gobekli Tepe was constructed by hunter-gatherer communities before. The widespread adoption of farming, implying that social cohesion, spiritual motivation, and communal projects may have driven the development of civilization rather than the reverse. The site suggests that the desire to create, communicate, and encode meaning in stone may have been a catalyst for social complexity, agricultural innovation, and cultural evolution, a radical shift in our understanding of human history. The location of Gobekli Tepe atop a hill may also have symbolic or astronomical significance. The enclosures provide expansive views of the surrounding plains, and some researchers suggest that alignments within the site correspond to celestial phenomena, such as solstices, equinoxes, or notable star positions. This potential connection to the heavens aligns Gobekli Tepe with global megalithic traditions, where monumental construction often encoded astronomical knowledge. The combination of spiritual, symbolic, and practical considerations indicates a culture deeply attuned to both the natural and the metaphysical world. Furthermore, the collaborative effort required to construct Gobekli Tepe implies complex social organization. Coordinating the labor, quarrying, transportation, and erection of massive stones over many generations necessitated leadership, planning, and communication. This challenges assumptions about the capabilities of pre-agricultural societies, showing that even small hunter-gatherer groups could achieve monumental feats when motivated by shared spiritual, cultural, or symbolic goals. The site stands as a testament to human ingenuity, cooperation, and the enduring impulse to leave lasting messages across time. Gobekli Tepe's enduring mystery continues to inspire awe and debate. The purpose of the site remains unclear. Was it a temple, a ceremonial center, a place of astronomical observation, or a repository of encoded knowledge? Perhaps it served all of these functions simultaneously. Its massive pillars, elaborate carvings, and circular enclosures demonstrate that the builders possessed advanced skills, symbolic literacy, and an understanding of monumental architecture that predates agriculture, writing, and formal civilization. Gobekli Tepe, therefore, is not just an archaeological site. It is a profound message in stone, challenging modern assumptions and inspiring a re-evaluation of the origins of human ingenuity and knowledge. In the context of the Megalith Code, Gobekli Tepe represents a foundational node in the global pattern of ancient knowledge. Its monumental pillars, symbolic carvings, and precise construction techniques echo principles seen in Baalbek, Stonehenge, Puma Punku, Easter Island, and other megalithic sites worldwide. The site reinforces the idea that humans have long encoded information, ritual, and cosmic understanding into stone, leaving enduring messages for future generations to decode. Gobekli Tepe is a timeless reminder that civilization's roots are far deeper, more sophisticated, and more mysterious than conventional history has long suggested. Perched high above the city of Cusco, Peru, the ancient fortress of Sacsayhuaman dominates the Andean skyline with its massive stone walls, monumental terraces, and precise masonry that continues to astound engineers and archaeologists alike. Constructed by the Inca civilization in the 15th century, Sacsayhuaman was both a military stronghold and a ceremonial complex, showcasing the ingenuity, organization, and architectural mastery of the Inca. The site is renowned for its enormous limestone and andesite blocks, some weighing over 200 tons, intricately shaped and fitted together without mortar, forming walls so precise that not even a knife blade can be inserted between the stones. The sheer scale, complexity, and precision of Sacsayhuaman's construction make it a striking example of the Megalith Code, linking it to a global network of megalithic knowledge and monumental architecture. One of the most remarkable features of Sacsayhuaman is the precision of its stonework. The massive blocks are polygonal in shape, each carefully carved to interlock with its neighbors in a jigsaw-like pattern that provides extraordinary stability, even in the face of seismic activity common to the Andes. The stones are not uniform, yet the fit is so perfect that the walls have endured for centuries without mortar or binding agents. The interlocking technique distributes weight evenly and prevents movement during earthquakes, demonstrating that the Inca possessed advanced knowledge of engineering, geometry, and structural dynamics long before modern science formalized these principles. The craftsmanship is so sophisticated that it continues to inspire architects and engineers worldwide. Transporting these colossal stones from quarries several kilometers away remains a subject of debate and fascination. Unlike many megalithic sites, Sacsayhuaman's builders did not have wheeled vehicles or draft animals, yet they managed to move blocks weighing up to 200 tons across rugged, mountainous terrain. Scholars theorize that a combination of ramps, levers, rollers, and sheer human labor was employed to position the stones with incredible accuracy. The coordination, planning, and organization required for such a feat suggest a society with a highly developed understanding of logistics, collective effort, and engineering, reflecting the same advanced principles observed in other megalithic sites like Pumapunku and Baalbek. Sacsayhuaman's architectural design further underscores its sophistication. The fortress consists of 3 massive terraced walls arranged in a zigzag pattern, creating a defensive barrier with strategic vantage points. The walls were designed not only for military purposes but also to integrate seamlessly with the surrounding landscape, reflecting a deep understanding of both topography and aesthetics. The terraces may have also served ceremonial functions, with plazas and open spaces used for religious gatherings, astronomical observations, and community events. This dual purpose, practical defense combined with spiritual and civic utility, demonstrates a holistic approach to architecture, where function, symbolism, and engineering are inseparably intertwined. The cultural and symbolic significance of Sacsayhuaman cannot be overstated. As the citadel of the Inca capital, it represented both the political power and spiritual authority of the empire. The massive stones themselves may have been selected not only for their structural properties but also for symbolic resonance, embodying the strength, permanence, and cosmological harmony of the Inca civilization. Some researchers suggest that the walls encode astronomical alignments, corresponding to solstices, equinoxes, or sacred constellations, similar to other megalithic sites worldwide. This deliberate integration of cosmic knowledge into monumental architecture reflects a recurring theme in the global Megalith Code: the fusion of spiritual, practical, and astronomical intelligence into enduring stone structures. The endurance of Sacsayhuaman's walls through centuries of earthquakes and environmental wear further highlights the ingenuity of its construction. The precise interlocking of irregular polygonal stones absorbs and dissipates seismic energy, preventing catastrophic collapse. This technique reflects a sophisticated understanding of physics and materials, knowledge that was encoded into the very design of the fortress. Modern engineering studies have marveled at the stability and resilience of Sacsayhuaman, considering it a pinnacle of pre-Columbian architectural achievement and a testament to the advanced skill of its builders. Sacsayhuaman also illustrates the social complexity required for megalithic construction. Coordinating labor, quarrying massive stones, transporting them over difficult terrain, and executing intricate placement demanded hierarchical organization, skilled artisans, and communal cooperation. The project would have been a significant societal endeavor, reinforcing social cohesion, authority, and cultural identity while simultaneously creating a monument of enduring power and mystery. This mirrors the organizational sophistication observed in other megalithic societies, from the builders of Giza to those at Pumapunku and Stonehenge, emphasizing that monumental construction is as much a reflection of social and cultural intelligence as it is of engineering skill. Walking along the terraces of Sacsayhuaman, One is struck by the scale, precision, and timelessness of the work. Each stone, perfectly fitted into its neighbors, speaks of a civilization capable of remarkable technical mastery, aesthetic vision, and spiritual expression. The fortress embodies the convergence of function, symbolism, and durability, leaving an enduring message for future generations to study, decode, and marvel at. In the broader context of the Megalith Code, Sacsayhuaman exemplifies the universality of megalithic knowledge. Its massive stones, precise construction, and potential astronomical alignments resonate with sites like Pumapunku, Baalbek, Stonehenge, and Gobekli Tepe. Sacsayhuaman demonstrates that ancient civilizations, regardless of geography or era, shared a profound impulse to encode meaning, cosmological understanding, and societal achievement into monumental stone, creating structures that endure as both cultural landmarks and messages across time. Rising majestically in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, Baalbek stands as one of the most awe-inspiring and mysterious megalithic sites in the world. Known in antiquity as Heliopolis, the city of the sun, Baalbek is home to colossal stone blocks, some of which remain the largest and heaviest ever used in construction by humans. The temple complex, primarily built during the Roman period, is anchored on a foundation of enormous megaliths, including the legendary trilithon stones, each weighing an estimated 800 to 1,200 tons. The precision with which these stones were quarried, transported, and placed continues to baffle engineers, archaeologists, and historians alike. The sheer scale of Baalbek, combined with its alignment, construction techniques, and historical significance, makes it a crucial piece of the Megalith Code, linking it to a global network of ancient sites that encode knowledge, power, and cosmological understanding in stone. The foundations of Baalbek are perhaps its most enigmatic feature. The massive trilithon stones, forming the base of the Temple of Jupiter, are cut with astonishing precision and fit so perfectly that even a razor blade cannot be inserted between them. Some of these blocks measure over 19 meters in length, 4 meters in height, and 3.6 meters in width. Moving such colossal stones would have required unprecedented ingenuity, as even with modern machinery their manipulation would be a monumental engineering challenge. Scholars continue to debate how ancient builders achieved this feat, proposing methods involving ramps, levers, and lubrication, but no explanation fully accounts for the precision, scale, and coordination evident in the work. Baalbek thus serves as both a historical and technical puzzle, showcasing the limits of our understanding of ancient construction capabilities. The quarrying and transportation of these massive stones present a particularly enduring mystery. Evidence suggests that some blocks were cut from quarries several kilometers away, yet the methods used to transport stones weighing hundreds of tons over rough terrain remain unknown. The level of organization, manpower, and technological know-how implied by the construction of Baalbek challenges conventional views of ancient societies. Some researchers have speculated that lost or forgotten techniques, possibly involving advanced leverage, vibration, or even unknown mechanical aids, may have been used, paralleling the technological enigmas observed at Pumapunku, Sacsayhuaman, and other megalithic sites worldwide. The architectural design of Baalbek further enhances its mystique. The site features massive terraces, intricate stone foundations, and colossal Roman temples dedicated to Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus. The layout demonstrates a deep understanding of geometry, weight distribution, and ceremonial planning. Each temple sits atop the precisely fitted megalithic foundation, indicating that the builders intentionally combined practical engineering with symbolic and religious considerations. Baalbek thus exemplifies the recurring theme of ancient civilizations embedding multiple layers of meaning, knowledge, and function into a single monumental structure. The cultural and religious significance of Baalbek cannot be overstated. As a temple complex dedicated to major deities, it served as a center of worship, pilgrimage, and cultural influence in the region. The monumental scale of the foundations and temples reflects both the technical mastery and the desire to impress, awe, and convey spiritual authority. Some researchers suggest that astronomical alignments may have been considered in the construction, connecting the temples to solar, lunar, or planetary events, although this remains a subject of ongoing study. Regardless, the integration of monumental architecture, symbolism, and celestial consideration aligns Baalbek with other global megalithic sites, reinforcing the universal impulse to encode knowledge and ritual meaning into enduring stone structures. One of the most fascinating aspects of Baalbek is its continuity and layering of civilizations. While the Roman temples are the most visible today, the site likely incorporates foundations and megalithic techniques from earlier, possibly pre-Roman cultures. This raises intriguing questions about the transmission of knowledge and the possibility that Baalbek's original builders possessed skills and understanding that were later adopted, enhanced, or preserved by successive civilizations. The site thus represents not only an engineering marvel but also a historical palimpsest, where the layers of construction encode centuries of knowledge, culture, and technological sophistication. The enduring or inspired by Baalbek is amplified by its scale and ambition. Standing at the base of the Trilithon stones, one is struck by the audacity and skill of the ancient builders. Each block, meticulously cut and positioned, conveys a sense of purpose, power, and permanence. Baalbek's monumental presence continues to challenge modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies and serves as a testament to humanity's long-standing quest to leave lasting messages in stone. In the context of the Megalith Code, Baalbek exemplifies the extreme end of megalithic ambition. Its enormous stones, precise fitting, potential astronomical considerations, and ceremonial significance resonate with global sites like Puma Punku, Sacsayhuaman, Stonehenge, Gobekli Tepe, and Easter Island. Baalbek underscores a recurring pattern in human history, the construction of monumental stoneworks not merely for shelter or function, but to encode knowledge, authority, ritual, and cosmic understanding in enduring form. The site continues to inspire wonder, challenging us to reconsider the sophistication, intent, and ingenuity of ancient civilizations. Across continents and millennia, megalithic sites such as Stonehenge, Gobekli Tepe, Sacsayhuaman, Baalbek, Easter Island, Karnak, Puma Punku, and the Nazca Lines form a mysterious web of monumental knowledge that continues to intrigue researchers, historians, and enthusiasts of hidden history. While each site is culturally and geographically distinct, striking similarities emerge in construction techniques, astronomical alignments, symbolic encoding, and the sheer ambition of human ingenuity. These parallels have fueled theories suggesting that ancient builders shared a common understanding of engineering, cosmology, and ritual practice, either through lost global knowledge, convergent evolution, or even now debated possibilities of advanced prehistoric civilizations. The recurring patterns, colossal stones, and precise layouts hint at a hidden message, a coded language of stone that may have been intended to transmit knowledge, spiritual insight, or cosmic understanding across generations. The first connection among these sites lies in their monumental scale and precision. From the massive sarsens of Stonehenge to the Trilithon blocks of Baalbek, and the intricately fitted polygonal stones of Sacsayhuaman, ancient builders consistently achieved feats that challenge modern engineering. Despite the absence of advanced machinery, they transported, shaped, and positioned stones weighing tens to hundreds of tons with extraordinary accuracy. This shared ability suggests that prehistoric societies, whether in Europe, South America, or the Middle East, possessed sophisticated knowledge of leverage, weight distribution, and structural integrity. The recurrence of such engineering feats across isolated cultures raises the tantalizing possibility of a universal understanding of megalithic principles, encoded in stone and repeated wherever monumental construction occurred. Astronomical alignment offers another compelling connection. Many megalithic sites demonstrate an awareness of solar, lunar, or stellar cycles. Stonehenge aligns with solstices, the Nazca Lines correspond with celestial bodies, and certain structures at Gobekli Tepe and Karnak may have been positioned with astronomical considerations in mind. Even Sacsayhuaman and Baalbek exhibit potential correlations with solar or planetary events. This repeated integration of cosmic observation into construction suggests that ancient societies may have sought to encode celestial knowledge within monumental architecture, using stone as a medium to bridge human activity with the cosmos. The deliberate placement of stones, orientation of enclosures, and geometric planning indicate that these were not random structures but intentional records of astronomical understanding. Symbolism and encoded meaning provide another layer of universality. Many sites contain carvings, reliefs, and motifs, ranging from animals at Gobekli Tepe and Nazca to geometric patterns at Karnak and Puma Punku, that may serve as spiritual, cosmological, or mnemonic devices. These symbols appear to convey narratives, encode knowledge, or preserve cultural and religious beliefs in a form that transcends the lifespan of any single generation. The repetition of symbolic motifs across isolated cultures suggests either a shared conceptual framework or a convergent approach to embedding meaning in monumental works. The stones themselves become vessels of knowledge, silently communicating lessons, rituals, or cosmic principles to those capable of interpreting them. The spatial organization and planning of these sites further reinforce the idea of hidden codes. Many megalithic constructions exist not as isolated monuments but as part of larger ceremonial, astronomical, or landscape systems. Stonehenge is surrounded by cursus monuments and burial mounds. Easter Island features moai on ahu platforms overlooking villages. Karnak extends across kilometers of aligned stones. Baalbek sits atop layered foundations of earlier construction. This suggests that ancient builders deliberately integrated geography, social structure, ritual function, and cosmic observation into cohesive designs, creating a form of encoded intelligence in the landscape itself. The repeated pattern of connected structures hints at a deliberate method of communication, perhaps intended for both contemporary observers and future generations. The scale, precision, and recurring patterns across these sites have led some theorists to propose more speculative possibilities. Could there have been a lost global network of knowledge, shared across continents through migration, trade, or cultural diffusion? Did ancient civilizations possess a profound understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering that has since been forgotten? Or are these similarities the product of convergent evolution, distinct societies independently arriving at comparable solutions to universal human challenges of ritual, survival, and observation? While definitive answers remain elusive, the coherence and sophistication of these monuments make it clear that the builders were operating at a level of knowledge far beyond what was previously assumed for their respective periods. Ultimately, the Megalith Code suggests that these ancient sites are more than relics of past civilizations. They are enduring messages in stone. They encode wisdom about the cosmos, society, spirituality, and human ingenuity. By studying the alignments, construction techniques, symbolic motifs, and geographical placement of megalithic sites worldwide, we begin to glimpse a shared human desire to communicate across time, to leave knowledge that transcends the limitations of language, culture, or geography. Each stone, each carving, and each alignment contributes to a global narrative that challenges conventional history, inspiring awe and curiosity. The hidden message embedded within these sites may not be fully decipherable, yet their existence points to a universal impulse to create, to record, and to communicate knowledge in a medium that endures far beyond the human lifespan. The Megalith Code is not just about stones, it is about humanity's drive to understand the universe, to encode meaning, and to connect past, present, and future through enduring monumental expression. Across continents, from the deserts of Peru to the hills of Turkey, the mountains of Lebanon, the plains of France, and the windswept coasts of Easter Island, ancient builders have left us a challenge to decode their messages, to uncover their knowledge, and to marvel at the ingenuity, vision, and ambition of our ancestors. Across the sweep of human history, the monuments left behind by ancient civilizations stand as silent witnesses to ingenuity, ambition, and the timeless human desire to encode knowledge into the very earth itself. From the rolling plains of Karnak in France to the deserts of southern Peru, from the high Andean terraces of Sacsayhuaman to the colossal foundations of Baalbek, from the remote volcanic hills of Easter Island to the revolutionary discovery of Gobekli Tepe, these megalithic sites defy easy explanation. They are more than relics of the past. They are messages, carefully crafted, preserved, and encoded in stone, a global network of knowledge, ritual, and cosmic understanding that transcends geography, culture, and time. The Megalith Code, as these interconnected wonders suggest, is not merely a metaphor. It is a tangible phenomenon, a testament to the shared human impulse to communicate, preserve, and awe. Consider Easter Island's moai, standing sentinel over an isolated island, their solemn faces gazing inland as if guarding knowledge or spirits long past. Carved from volcanic tuff, these statues were transported across treacherous terrain, requiring extraordinary ingenuity and coordination. Yet they are more than engineering marvels. Each moai, atop its ahu platform, represents authority, spirituality, and the encoding of cultural memory. Similarly, the Nazca lines, etched across the Peruvian desert, are both monumental in scale and subtle in conception. Their geometric patterns and stylized animals suggest an intimate knowledge of astronomy, a spiritual connection to the cosmos, and an enduring record of ceremonial or practical knowledge that could only be fully appreciated from above. Together, these sites underscore a recurring theme, the desire of ancient peoples to leave enduring records that link the earthly with the cosmic, the mortal with the divine. In Europe, the Karnak stones extend for kilometers, their hundreds of aligned menhirs creating rhythms of stone across the Breton landscape. The precision of these alignments, the careful spacing of each megalith, and the possible astronomical correlations all point to a civilization capable of advanced planning and observation. Stonehenge, with its massive sarsens and bluestones, echoes similar impulses: astronomical alignments, ritual significance, and the engineering expertise required to manipulate enormous stones with only primitive tools. These Sites reveal a consistent pattern. Ancient societies, though separated by vast distances and centuries, independently arrived at similar methods of monumental construction, symbolic communication, and integration of cosmology into architecture. This convergence is a tantalizing clue to a universal human drive to encode meaning into permanence. Moving to South America, Sacsayhuaman exemplifies both technical mastery and cultural sophistication. The polygonal stones, weighing hundreds of tons, interlock so precisely that they withstand centuries of seismic activity without mortar. The fortress's terraces, ceremonial spaces, and potential astronomical alignments indicate a civilization that seamlessly fused practical engineering with ritual and societal organization. Puma Punku, nearby, continues this narrative with even more massive stones, precise cuts, and interlocking systems that defy easy explanation, hinting at a level of sophistication that modern engineers still struggle to replicate. Each site, like a piece of a larger puzzle, reveals a global pattern: humans encoding knowledge, authority, and cosmological awareness into stone, leaving messages that endure far longer than fleeting civilizations. Gobekli Tepe takes this narrative back even further, rewriting the very timeline of monumental architecture. Erected around 9600 BCE, it predates the advent of agriculture, writing, and settled society. The T-shaped pillars, adorned with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols, indicate that hunter-gatherers possessed the organizational capacity, symbolic literacy, and technical skill to create enduring monuments long before previously assumed. Gobekli Tepe challenges fundamental assumptions about the origins of civilization. Monumental construction may have inspired social complexity and agricultural innovation, rather than the other way around. Its enclosures represent the earliest known expression of collective human ambition to encode meaning, ritual, and knowledge into durable form. Baalbek, in the Bekaa Valley, Lebanon, represents the extreme of megalithic ambition. The colossal trilithon stones, each weighing hundreds of tons, form a foundation so precise and monumental that the methods used to quarry, transport, and place them remain a mystery. When combined with the ceremonial temples above, Baalbek embodies the convergence of engineering mastery, ritual intent, and possibly astronomical alignment. It serves as a powerful reminder that ancient civilizations, separated by time and space, repeatedly pursued the same goal: to create lasting, monumental expressions of knowledge, authority, and spiritual insight. When viewed together, these sites suggest a compelling hypothesis: ancient civilizations, whether through shared knowledge, convergent evolution, or a yet-to-be-discovered global network, encoded meaning into stone with remarkable consistency. They used megaliths to transmit information, record celestial knowledge, assert authority, and maintain spiritual traditions. The repetition of astronomical alignments, the use of massive stones, precise interlocking techniques, and symbolic carvings all point to a shared understanding of the interplay between humanity, nature, and the cosmos. Even the most isolated cultures, like the inhabitants of Easter Island or the Nazca people, demonstrate similar patterns, suggesting that these impulses are intrinsic to human societies. This global perspective invites us to reconsider what we know about history. Conventional timelines often underestimate the technical, artistic, and astronomical sophistication of ancient peoples. The Megalith Code, viewed through the lens of these interconnected sites, challenges us to see our ancestors not as primitive or isolated but as ingenious, observant, and profoundly aware of both the earthly and cosmic order. They created monuments that served multiple functions: practical, spiritual, social, and symbolic, encoding messages meant to endure beyond individual lifespans and even civilizations. Ultimately, the true power of the Megalith Code lies in its capacity to inspire awe and curiosity. Each site, whether a solitary moai on Easter Island, a perfectly aligned menhi at Karnak, a colossal wall at Sacsayhuaman, or a carved pillar at Gobekli Tepe, tells a story of human ambition, ingenuity, and the enduring desire to communicate across time. These monuments invite us to look beyond surface appearances, to question accepted narratives, and to explore the hidden knowledge encoded in stone. They remind us that human history is not linear, simple, or confined to conventional understanding. It is a rich tapestry of ingenuity, spirituality, and mystery waiting to be decoded. As we piece together the stories of these monumental sites, a larger pattern emerges. Humans have long sought to understand their place in the cosmos, to assert identity, to preserve knowledge, and to connect with something greater than themselves. The Megalith Code is a testament to that impulse, a bridge across time, culture, and geography. It challenges us to recognize the intelligence, ambition, and vision of our ancestors, and to acknowledge that the mysteries they left behind are not merely relics. They are messages, carefully constructed, resilient, and eternal. In conclusion, the Megalith Code urges us to see the ancient world through a lens of wonder and possibility. From the deserts of Peru to the hills of Turkey, the valleys of Lebanon to the plains of France, and the isolated shores of Easter Island, ancient humans left a record that continues to challenge, inspire, and amaze. These monuments are more than stone. They are encoded wisdom, cosmic observation, and a declaration of human ingenuity. They remind us that the pursuit of knowledge, the desire to leave a lasting legacy, and the connection between humanity and the cosmos are impulses as old as civilization itself. By studying, decoding, and marveling at these megalithic wonders, we honor the ingenuity of our ancestors and keep alive the mystery, awe, and inspiration that they intended for generations yet to come.